Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. That is a sick beat, right? I am loving that beat. Yeah, welcome to the line. Thank you guys for coming. We're going to take some phone calls in a minute. Just a reminder, the number is, what is the number? Oh my God, I should have it pulled up.
720-619-2288.
There we go. Thank you. Don't forget, call in. If you think religion is beneficial to society, if it's virtuous to be religious, if you think religion is not destructive, if you are a Christian in any way, shape, or form, or hell, if you're a Muslim or anything, Buddhist even, I'll take anything. Come in, debate us. Tell us why we're wrong. I think Christianity is harmful inherently, because I think that it's better to believe as many true things as possible, as few false things as possible. Tell me why I'm wrong on that. I have Forrest with me here. How's it going?
Holla. I was just on Jimmy's show, and now I'm on this show. I get to co-host today. I get to sit over here and let you deal with the choices.
That will work. I'm down. You got anything interesting going on in your life lately? So you got your lights set up back there.
I finally got these fixed again, and so like that's happening. I'm trying to get some more. I want to get one up on this upper shelf and the shelf over here that I don't think people can see on this particular setup. I'm just trying new things, trying to make this whole situation look a little bit
beautiful.
More
oh my God, I didn't see those. That's awesome.
Well, this is the rest of the stage. But like I just got those light strips in there, and I'm trying to make everything prettier. You know what I mean?
That is really cool. I love that.
And doing that while making videos and school and a lot of travel and a lot of conventions and a lot of everything else. And I just really, really want like a lot of iron and sleep. I would like to, if anybody has any blood laying around, send your blood to P.O. Box 1810.
Don't do that. You're asking for something that you don't even know what you're getting yourself into right now.
I just need blood and a nap and like a break, and then I'll be fine. But until then, I'm going to be here doing this fucking show and also research and also everything else.
Awesome.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm really loving that stage back there. I think I've shown this before, and I'm pretty sure that you've seen this, certainly. But I have like
a sick fucking video game collection.
Yeah, I have a whole video game collection. It's like every Virtual Boy game up there, including Waterworld and Jack Bros with the manuals. Those are all the Pokemon games at the top, and Shadow Boxes, Zelda games, and everything. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Big fan. Love your lights,
a big deal. Thank you. Pokemon's a big deal for me. I've got my fucking Kanto region badges over there. The phone case is a Pokedex. Every time I'm traveling and we're out in the jungle doing shit, I'm always wearing my original Ash hat. Like it's a major part of my childhood heart. You don't know me.
Did you get Fire Red and Leaf Green? Those are out on the Switch now, I think, right?
Amazing. I have not.
Oh, you haven't?
I do need to get. I haven't. But I would like to. That sounds like a lot of fun on the Switch. I'm trying to buy a Switch 2 because I heard they made a new Kirby Air Ride for the Switch 2.
Yeah, I have a Switch 2.
The first one was one of my favorite games of all time when I was a kid. Kirby Air Ride is just so fucking good. So like I'm trying to bop over to that.
I've never played that. I'm gonna have to get a copy of that. That sounds interesting.
If you're into, it's just weird. It's just weird and it's a little like kind of racing game, and then they have like this freeform version of it, and it's just strange, and it's just a thing you can do to sit around with your friends and just run the same game for 7 minutes at a time, over and over and over and over for hours on end.
Is it kind of like Mario Kart racing, like in that style?
Some of it. Except you're Kirby, so you're sucking up power-ups as you pass by them. But then they have like the main meat of the game is the city trials, where you're like, they have this open world cityscape that you're like bopping around getting upgrades for your vehicle, and then you have like a random event that happens at the end. It's probably, a lot of people talk about like this game from my childhood that's the best game ever, and it never fucking is. Like your favorite childhood game is not the best game ever.
Right.
Newer games are better. The Super Smash Bros. You liked as a kid isn't as good as the newest one, and it's the same thing with everything. But it has that place in your heart, and you don't actually like that game. You like how you felt playing that game, and that's what you're getting back. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
so it's the same thing with this. Like, I still go back and play all these old like GameCube and N64 and stuff like that. I know for sure there's better stuff out there. I just don't have time to play it. I just started playing Assassin's Creed. I just discovered that franchise, and it's amazing. But there's no way. I just played Odyssey a little bit ago, and now I'm playing Valhalla. There's no way I'm going to go pick up the first one. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wasn't there for that. That isn't a good feeling for me to go backwards. I need the new. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to play Mario Kart 64 with my cousin in his basement, and it was just so much fun, dude. But
yeah,
I went back to Mario 64, or I'm sorry, Mario Kart 64. I went back to it recently. It is maybe the worst game ever made. Honestly, it is so hard to play. It's like,
it's so chunky.
They troll you. They send you off of ledges for no reason. It's just the worst. It is such a bad game.
Yeah. But if I had to play a Mario, if someone asked me right now, do you want to play Mario Kart? You get to pick which one it is. I'm picking 64. Like at the end, because it's the best one to me. It has that feeling. I want to kick your ass on Koopa Troopa Beach, dude. Like that's what I want to do. I don't want to play. What everyone's like. Oh, this one. I think 8 is like one that's like universally really loved. Not my first pick because it's not Moo Moo Farm, y'all. You know.
Yeah. I feel that. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the franchise anymore. I used to be, but I don't know. It feels a little bit repetitive to me nowadays. By the way, quick reminder, please call in. We would really appreciate it. What's the number again?
720-619-2288. We have 2 people waiting on the line right now, which means we have plenty of spots open. If you're a theist, if you're a creationist, if you believe in the God of the Bible or that the Bible is the good book, if you don't believe in evolution or the age of the earth, if you want to discuss vaccines, trans people, what the nature of sin is, gods, devils, demons, angels, or whether pineapple goes well on pizza. That number on the bottom of the screen, 720-619-2288. Talk to 2 lefty atheist soy boys who want to take your calls and discuss your opinions.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're ready, I'm good to take the first one. Are you good with that?
Yeah, whenever you want.
Awesome. All right, let's bring in Tom. Him is a theist from Michigan. Wants to talk about the Fermi paradox. What do you got for us, Tom?
Hi, good evening. 2 things. One is if something is considered new, because for me, I just learned about a kind of spore fungus that is supposedly using radiation to get its energy, chloroforma spermia.
The ones around Chernobyl? Yeah.
So I am right. Is that like within the last year new, or is that like 20 years new?
That's not within the last year. It's a little older. Let me check. When were those would be radiotrophic fungi discovered? Because it's been around for a minute. Looks like they were discovered all the way back in the 1990s. And it's just, there's been a lot more research going into them since then. I know that they were a big deal a little while ago. I want to say maybe a decade or so ago, because it was a whole thing that, like, if they can block out that kind of ionizing radiation or even utilize it, then maybe we could use such and such thing for, like, skin cancer treatment, prevention and things like that. I'm pretty sure that was a thing, but it's been a long time since I had to think about it, so I'm probably forgetting something important about that.
So I don't know if this is important the way you're looking at it, but about 2 weeks ago I heard they want to use it in order to get to Mars in terms of the radiation and shielding the spaceship. Is that still an idea?
I have never heard that before. I would be pretty skeptical on its face, because, like, these fungi are what they are. They're radiotrophic. Trophy means you're in this case it means you're consuming a thing. And so so they're eating the radiation. They're using the radiation to drive their cell cycles. If you were to use that as a source of food or something in space, because there's a ton of ionizing radiation coming out of the solar winds and shit, I could hear you. As far as shielding is concerned, I don't know what benefit they would provide that you couldn't get from inorganic material, except for maybe weight. They would probably be lighter, so maybe you can make some sort of sheets of these things. But that's way outside of my wheelhouse, and again, this is the first time ever hearing about it. So I would be skeptical of this, but I would be willing to entertain the idea.
Thank you for your honesty. So then there's another thing. Again, this is new to me, like the last month, and it's coming from the James Webb Telescope in terms of photosynthesis on other planets. And they're saying, these astrobiologists are saying that they're shifting from the red dwarf to the K dwarf.
Okay.
In terms of searching for extraterrestrial life. And I wasn't
You're talking
sure
about
if you
looking
heard
at the
of
different
that.
kinds of stars? Yeah, that's outside of my area. I'm a biologist, sorry.
So I heard what you said. I want to repeat my question, but I'll word it just a little bit differently.
Sure.
I understand from a high school textbook definition of a biologist. I get that. And when you say you're a biologist, everybody's happy. For me personally, the intent of my question is the search for extraterrestrial life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to say it's still out of your league, it's still out of your interest, fine. That's a fair answer. I just wanted to make sure you're clear on where I'm coming from.
Yeah. What I'm saying by saying I'm a biologist is like I know some stuff about the search for extraterrestrial life. I'm comfortable talking about it, but I'm not up to date with like the latest developments. That's outside of my area of expertise, and so it wouldn't be so. Even if I knew what you were talking about, I probably wouldn't be comfortable giving too many details. And it's also the first thing I've heard about it. Especially the reason I said I'm a biologist specifically in that case is because you were distinguishing between different classes of stars. That's something that I wouldn't even be able to categorize for you. That's so far outside of my area, and so like for me to even engage with that, best case scenario is I accidentally get something right. More likely, I would just spread some misinformation. That's why I was distinguishing myself there.
Sure. It's all good. I wasn't sure if I was, as a layperson, if I was years behind or as just a hobbyist that I'm really that up to date. So I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. It's there's some really cool people out there. Dr. Dakota Tyler is an astrophysicist. Dr. Lena Vincent is an astrobiologist. Event Horizon is I believe, astrophysicist. And then there's Ariel. I forgot what her new handle is, but she's somebody that I've linked on my channels before. She's another astrophysicist. I know a bunch of these folks that are astrophysicists or astrobiologists and also content creators that would probably be able to talk. Astro Alexandra, I don't know why I didn't think of her as well. These are all people who would be able to talk about this stuff way more articulately than I could and would know these different star classifications and why they're relevant. But for the same reason that I would not ask an astrophysicist about differences between different classes of viruses, I'm not going to dig into that.
Sure. So then, in conclusion, do you have any theories on why we're not finding other life forms outside of our solar system?
Yeah, the first and biggest one is that we just really genuinely have not looked that far. The best way I've heard it summarized is like our search for extraterrestrial life right now has been akin to walking to the ocean with a cup, scooping up some water and saying there's no whales in this cup, therefore there are no whales in the ocean, The biggest thing for me about the Fermi paradox is that you have to consider the fact that, like, think about like the SETI program right now, reaching out into space using radio waves and sending broadcasts saying, hey, here we are. Say there is another alien civilization out there that can receive these. We now need to say that these things exist in the first place, that life was able to get started on their planet. That's pretty rare. That life was able to evolve to the point where they were intelligent enough to create radio towers and things and radio receivers, which is a huge ask because intelligence is not a goal of evolution. It's just a thing that can happen. So like, that's wild. Huge amount of convergence there. Then we need to say that they did create radio towers. We evolved to the point where we were intelligent enough to do that hundreds of thousands of years before we actually did it. So then they have to build the radio towers. They have to discover that technology, and they have to build it, and they have to turn them on, and they have to be listening, and they have to be listening in the right direction and not the right frequency to receive the signal. They have to notice that they received the signal. They might not even notice it, and they have to interpret it, and they have to then write a signal back, and they have to send it, and then all that shit applies again to us. We have to be listening in the right way, in the right direction, at the right time, and notice it, and interpret it. And all of that has so many social factors and political factors on top of the biological factors and the temporal factors that are just fucking massive, that it becomes more and more improbable for this kind of communication and this kind of discovery to happen. So for us to discover aliens in the way that we are trying, in the ways, I should say, the multiple ways we are trying to, is extremely, extremely unlikely anyway. I'm glad we're doing it. I'd rather be doing it than not, because I'm not a big proponent of dark forest theory. But like at the end of the day, I should say I'm not swayed by it. It is still unbelievably rare, and the Fermi paradox does not dissuade my absolute certainty that the universe is way too big for us to be the only planet with life on it.
All right. Anything else you wanted to hit?
No, that's it. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yes. Thank you for coming on.
Tom. Thank you for questions.
Yep. Have a nice night. Bye.
You too. Take care.
Very interesting. Not a theist, but I don't think, but interesting nonetheless. Also, completely unrelated note. I'm not always the best at hanging up on people when I should. So if I'm if I'm letting it go too long, please step in.
You're saying that to me? I take hour-long calls with obvious trolls all the time.
Okay. All right, good.
I will rein you in. Don't worry. You can trust me.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Lux is here. Lux is here to keep us in check.
The way you said that makes me feel like I can't trust you, but okay, I will walk in with my eyes closed.
No, I am only trustworthy.
You have to tell us if you're a cop.
Yeah, right. All right, awesome. Also, on that note of the last call, I was reading about those little, God, I don't know what they're called, little biomes. They're like spheres, sealed spheres with like, brine shrimp, I think maybe, and snails and kelp, and it's a perfectly contained little thing. And I think that's super interesting. I understand that we're gonna have to work out how to do that for humans, but it's like way more complicated for humans. If we want to go to Mars, we have to crack that problem first. Right.
What I think is really good about those as well is that they are a great model to help people understand. Like that is it's this little closed system, quote, quote, where it's totally self-contained, right? But there's no such thing as perpetual motion. You still need external energy. You still have to put that thing in the sun to drive photosynthesis, to drive all this stuff to make sure those things still work. And it's the same thing with the Earth. Like when we talk about evolution and people are like, oh, it goes against thermodynamics. We still have energy coming in, driving things exactly the same as those little biojars. You know what I mean? Right. And you're right. We have to find a way to crack that solution, that problem for us to build a biosphere that we can actually live in without going insane. But we can't get away from the fact that we still need external energy. We still need that sun driving things. And on Mars, that's tougher to do. So like better solar panels, maybe? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Especially considering the fact that like, I don't know anything about this. These are probably questions that have answers. But like, do you do solar panels outside to soak up sunshine to drive full spectrum LEDs inside? Or is it enough to have a greenhouse? Is it enough to be able to run things that way? You have a carbon dioxide rich atmosphere. Can you use that to your advantage to supplement carbon dioxide into the space you're working in and then harvest oxygen from it? Or do you need it to be perfectly self-contained? Is there a problem with the density of the atmosphere? Do you need to condense that down? And what does that look like if you do? And how do you power such a thing? Who's going to dust the goddamn solar panels? And how? Like, it's a million questions I have about that. But what I'm most excited about is that if you can get to those fucking ice caps on Mars, you now have another massive source of resources, that fresh water. Hugely beneficial for you, but finite. Unless you can make that super contained, like, that's neat. It's a neat opportunity. Or
Absolutely.
you could break that down and make pure hydrogen and oxygen, which means Mars is basically like a fucking gas station. You can just fuel up on shit like that and use that for fuel for other things. I don't know. I don't know anything about anything. I'm incredibly stupid, and these are probably easy questions for somebody who's actually got a background in astronomy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that they tried to do a test where they put people in like a 3-acre sealed environment, I think in the 90s maybe, and it failed because it's just too complex to house humans with everything that we need. They ran out of oxygen. They had to pump some in. But also, happy birthday Q&A line just got $100 super chat, I think. This is half a coffee, but it's something. Thank you. Why is it red? That's unusual.
So those are
It's 'cause it's
Argentinian pesos,
so
and
large.
5,000 of them is like $3.50 USD.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
But because it's a large number, it gets put in another thing. And by the way, happy birthday, Lux. I didn't know it was your birthday.
Is my birthday later this week? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
my
well,
God.
happy birthday. Yes.
What do you know, like 23, 24?
Is that a sincere question? I'm gonna be 32.
Oh,
Just fucking
okay.
Just fucking with you.
I had no idea.
That's great.
I've got you beat by a few years. I think I'm 36.
Hey,
How dare you?
Anyway, all right.
I was
Well, I'm ready
32
to
for a
take,
couple of years. It was a lot of fun.
Wait, how old are you now, Forrest?
42.
No, you're not. How old are you?
No, I'm not. I'm 33. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. So there's no way. Awesome. You want to take the next call then?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk to. Do you want to talk to line number 13 or line number 6?
We can hit 13.
I think so too. I think that would be better suited for you anyway. Let's talk to Frank. Pronouns he, him, who wants to talk about the Shroud of Turin. Frank, you're on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing today?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I guess I'm doing well enough. I guess that I have a friend who's an atheist, but he's rather snarky about it. And he told me once, you believe in God, so you believe in the Tooth Fairy. And as a result of that, he introduced me to a group called the Secular Council of the Triad. And when I first began attending their meetings, they were all concerned, as well they should have been, about Project 2025. And they, they're concerned very much about separating, state and religion. And I very much support that idea because, I do believe in God, but my ideas on the subject are rather unconventional. And I am interested in the history of the church, and particularly interested in a current of Christianity which is extirpated in the first couple centuries, Gnosticism. And that's, again, where I take my cue. But in the course of these conversations with this group called Scott, they, they talk about the meaning of life, and I talk about some things that people have come back from near-death experience where the meaning of life is, well, first it's love, and then it's knowledge. And I believe that that love and knowledge abide with us in spirit, and that we are here to learn love of knowledge and knowledge of love. And the Gospel of Thomas, saying 50, do you know the Gospel of Thomas at all?
I'm familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, saying 50, Jesus said, if they ask who you are, tell them you were sons of the living Father, of the light that came into being of its own accord. And the near-death experiencer, Nancy Dennison, came back from her experience and said, God is no more like us than electricity. And so it's always sort of struck me that 2,000 years ago, Jesus would have said that that God is the living light that came into being of its own accord, which is something that our mind can't really wrap itself around because we live in a world of cause and effect, and nothing comes into being of its own accord. It comes into being because some cause made it occur.
Okay.
Just you sort of saying how.
Yeah, earlier you said that we're here to understand love, like have knowledge of love or whatever. I'm not sure I fully understand what that even means. Yeah, I'm confused about all of this. I'm sorry.
Well, I confuse a lot of people, but anyway.
Well, let me ask you, what is your reason for believing in God? What reason do you have?
Also, what God do you believe in?
Yeah, what God?
Well,
is it the Christian God?
Well, I believe you'd have to sort of define your terms. I do not believe in the God of the Old Testament. I read and listen to Richard Dawkins online, and he talks about God being, xenophobic, homophobic, psychopathic murderer. But I do not. I believe that God is pure living energy. As I say, the Gospel of Thomas says.
Why do you think that? I'm not sure I get me there. Like, I want to understand where you're coming from with this, because I don't see how you could arrive at that conclusion.
Well, tell me why you don't believe in God.
I have no reason to.
Okay,
you've claimed that there is a God out there. Now justify that claim to me.
Well, I actually believe that the very part of you that says there is no God out there is the very part of you that is God, that a photon of the living light abides in each and every one of us. And,
just to be clear, Frank, just to be clear, Frank, you are describing natural phenomena and just calling it God. Our capacity to think and talk and ask questions and all these different things, you can say we don't have a good enough explanation for them if you like, but at the end of the day, what you're doing here is just asserting magic.
That's the God of the gaps, that one day we'll come to better understand, and that, that was just electricity.
You're inserting magic into a scenario where there need not be one. It's just funny you mentioned your friend who said it's like believing in the tooth fairy. I don't believe in the God that you're talking about for the exact same reason that I don't believe in the tooth fairy, because I have no good reason to believe that any such a thing exists. Any explanation that you give me of what it could be is better explained by other things. And frankly, all the gods on offer sound horrible.
Well, all the gods on what sound horrible?
All the gods on offer. Every example of a god that has ever been proposed to me sounds fucking monstrous.
Well, are you familiar at all with Nancy Rhines?
No, I'm sorry.
Nancy Rhines was an atheist who was riding her bicycle one day and was run over by an SUV. She had an extended near-death experience, and she says, rather than being, god-awful, God has a love for us that is so intense and so profound it is beyond our understanding. So
cool. She had a near-death experience. She had a near-death experience that was different than every other near-death experience of other people in other religions, where their near-death experiences all confirm their own religions that are often contradicting one another, and also all the people that have near-death experiences that don't interact with the God and all these other things. And in her particular experience, where she was near-death, she met somebody who somehow justified why 10,000 children starve to death every day. I'm not impressed.
Well,
sorry.
Okay. Well, you see, but my response to that is, you're asking the wrong question. Don't ask why would God have 10,000 children starve to death. Ask what would God have us do. But since you don't know, since you don't believe in God,
hang on.
That wasn't even my question. That wasn't even my question.
Yeah, super basic question here. God is capable of fixing these problems, right? If not, he's not all powerful. If he is, he's not all good. But aside from that, that isn't the question that Forrest even asked. The question was, why do you believe her? You know what? Why don't you, Forrest? Why don't you clarify the question?
So the question that I put up there was two parts. It was one, that she has this near-death experience, but everybody who has a near-death experience has a different experience. We have tested near-death experiences in the lab. They don't hold any water in terms of actual predictive power about reality. They always line up with everybody's religion individually. There are some where they don't see any kind of gods or anything like that.
That's not true.
So that is true. So you're picking this one particular thing. You're picking this one story that you like.
But she's a particular one. Actually, when I go online to investigate near-death experience, I Google two specific things: veridical near-death experiences, like things that can be proven, like the tennis shoe on the ledge, the quarter on the cabinet, the
those were not proven.
On the lamp.
Those things were false.
That
tennis shoe thing, that tennis shoe story, that was complete nonsense. That was not true.
And the second part of my question, the main part of my question, which has to do with it, even if these were all true, even if this person really did meet God, this God gave them an explanation for the world that this God manages. I didn't ask why God does these things. I just put forward the fact that, like, the world this God created, the world this God manages, is evil. If this God is in control of these things, then this God is evil. And turning it around on me and saying, well, God's asking what we're going to do about it, actually makes it worse. Let me ask you, Frank, so I'm not putting words in your mouth. Do you believe that God is all-powerful?
I think that God has sort of abdicated some of his power to give us power. I mean,
that's
God
not what I asked
abdicated his power.
I asked you, is God, because I abdicate if I'm managing a company and I give somebody a job, that doesn't mean that I couldn't do it myself. I'm asking, is God capable of doing anything he wants?
I suppose God is capable, but I think God, put us here on our own recognizance. And
now let me ask you another question. Is there anything at all that happens in this universe that is outside of God's will or his plan?
Is there anything outside the universe besides God's will and God's plan?
No, anything that happens within the universe. Does anything ever happen in this universe that God doesn't ordain, that goes against his will, that is out of his power, that violates his desires? Or is he in control of everything?
Well, I believe God gives us free will, so, he doesn't impose his will on us. He gives us, Edgar Cayce said that that we are co-creators with God, that God has created situations where we get to participate in the process, for good or for evil.
I'm going to ask you the same question. When you're done, you can go and continue the sermon if you like, but when you're done, I'm going to ask you the same question until you actually answer it.
Well, I thought I was answering it.
No, you just abdicated responsibility again by saying, well, we have free will. That's not what I asked you. God can say that our free will is something that he desires. What I'm asking you is there ever an event that takes place in the universe, anything that happens ever, whether it be by our free will or anything else, that is outside of God's plan, that God does not allow to happen, that he doesn't want to have happen?
I can't say I'm privy to that information. I believe that God wants us to participate in the process and that we have the opportunity to make the world a better place. You're right, the world is a horrible place. Hell, we elected Donald Trump. That's bad enough. Now,
let me rephrase the question. Let me rephrase the question. Do you believe God has a divine plan?
Well, I believe in reincarnation. I think that all things come forth from spirit and all things return to spirit. And I think that
doesn't answer my question at all.
Has nothing to do with it.
A grand reunification is part of the divine plan.
That doesn't answer my question. So what I'm asking you is, does God have a plan for the universe that we are currently on, that everything that's happening right now is a part of the plan that God has laid out for us.
But I think that there are indeterminate aspects of that plan that are part of that are dependent on our free will.
I just asked if the plan exists.
I presume so. I can't say I know so, but I believe so.
So now what I'm asking, I'm asking about your belief. I don't think any of us know any of this stuff. I'm asking about your belief system here. So now to get back to the question that I asked earlier, so that hopefully it makes more sense. Is there anything that ever happens in the universe that goes against God's plan, or that thwarts God's plan, or that stops God's plan from progressing?
Could Satan win?
That's it. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. So then that's the issue that I had with your near-death experience story, where when I brought up the fact that 10,000 children starve to death every day, and you said, well, it's about us to do this and this, but none of that matters. No free will matters. None of our participation in creation matters. None of the other sermon matters. What matters is God has a plan. I'm going to finish what I was saying, Frank. I'm going to finish what I was saying, and then you can ask me whatever you like. God has a plan, and everything in the universe is going according to that plan, including 10,000 children dying every day. So you can put in whatever caveats you like about what we should do or anything like that. At the end of the day, God has the option to change any of it at any time. He is all-powerful. There is nothing he cannot do. And instead, he is deliberately overseeing a universe in which 10,000 children die in terror and agony every 24 hours. That is the problem that I have with your near-death experience story. It doesn't excuse that.
Okay, let me just ask, what, if anything, have you ever done to alleviate that terror and fear, to feed any of those children
I have raised tens of thousands of dollars for charity, specifically for organizations that fight hunger and provide life-saving medical care all around the world. If you include other charities, it's probably well over $1 million, but I know for sure I have raised at least hundreds of thousands of dollars specifically for charities that alleviate hunger and medical poverty.
Would you say, in general terms or abstract terms, that those deeds that you've done were acts of love?
Yes.
Okay, then this is again from another NDEer who was an atheist, who said, God is love, and whenever you perform an act of love, you are doing God's work.
And I would call that a sick, twisted mockery of love.
Well, you're doing what you can to feed children. You're doing what you can to alleviate terror. I am doing what I can to feed children out of the love that I have, because the love that you worship caused them to starve in the first place. That's a twisted mockery of love. I love these children so much that I'm going to cause them to be born into poverty and suffering and strife and terrorism and famine and war and genocide and pain. And then I'm going to watch a lot of them die so that some fucking white kid in Oklahoma can work really hard on the internet and raise some money for charity. And that's love. Fuck off. That sucks. Well, you're still, I believe that when you are feeding those children, alleviating that terror, whether you know it or not, you are actually doing God's work, because God wants us to participate in the process. We have an option
and Frank,
to make
I love
better.
I love you in spite of that insult.
Insult? Well, I guess it was to say that you were doing God's work when you don't believe in God would have been an insult to you. But nonetheless, whenever you perform an act, I don't even know your name.
My name is Forrest, and it's not insulting that you're suggesting I'm doing God's work when I don't believe in God. It's insulting to me that you're using the word love to simultaneously indicate someone working really hard to try to make the world a better place, and also someone actively making the world worse at the same time. and equating my work as a content creator, as somebody who raises money for charity, as somebody who donates to charity, as somebody who dedicates their life to trying to ameliorate the fucked up situation that we find ourselves in as humans, you're equating my work and my passion and my dedication with the God who is out here overseeing and enforcing genocide, famine, slavery, war, poverty, and all this shit that I'm actively fighting against. And you're calling both of those situations love and saying, I'm doing that God's work by undoing some of the hideous shit that he did.
Well, when, again, I've never had a near-death experience, and I
hope you don't.
But again, actually, there was a question on one of the sites I went to today. Would you want to have a near-death experience? And
no, and why would anyone ever want that?
Well, for spiritual insight.
Right. I don't want to almost die. Thanks. I've been close enough to that. I'm good.
Additionally, we know for a fact that those are coming from people's brains, not an outside force. It's not that Christianity can't be tested. It keeps failing the tests. We know that the things that people report in their near-death experiences are not real.
Also, if you believe in the Bible, either the New Testament or the Old Testament, Christianity and the God of that Bible absolutely can be tested and have done so.
Yeah. And failed.
I'm not a Christian because I believe that salvation is the birthright of the soul, because the soul, I know that Aaron Ra, for example, and the Red Horn guy don't even believe that there is such a thing with a soul. I don't believe that you have a soul.
Yeah, I don't either.
I believe that
either.
I believe that you are a soul.
Well, what's
I don't
a
believe
soul?
Souls exist.
What is a soul?
The soul is spiritual energy. It is immortal.
What's spiritual energy?
What does
What's
that mean?
Spiritual energy?
Well, it's the first. I believe that the first thing we have to understand about God is that God is beyond our understanding. So
that's a really lazy way to think.
Far.
Here's what I'm picking up from that. I'm picking up you used two random words that don't have meaning attached to them. And when I asked you to provide that meaning, you said no one can understand. I don't understand. It's impossible to understand. Give me an actual real definition of a soul, and I'll tell you if I believe in it or not.
Well, I believe that God is the soul rather is a photon of the living light that came into being of its own accord.
Photon of the living light. Light is an inanimate object. How could it be living? Let's really drill down.
Photons don't just sit there and do nothing. Photons are moving, and they get absorbed by an atom and knock an electron up to a higher level of excitation, and then they fall back down and they get excreted. And there's a whole photons do stuff. So what are you talking about? Is this photon just sitting there in an armchair hanging out?
Well, you do stuff. You think. You have opinions. You contribute.
I'm not a photon.
I believe you are in your essence.
I don't know what that means.
That's what I believe.
Okay,
it's like I'm talking to fucking Deepak Chopra. You're literally just you're explaining gibberish with more gibberish.
Yes, like a photon is a unit of light. What do you mean I am in my essence a photon? That doesn't actually make any sense.
Is the soul a particle or a wave?
Well, that's a good question. Listen, I've read. Well, I know, but I have read a number of books on Einstein's theories of general and special relativity, and quite frankly, my brain didn't have the machinery to do the heavy lifting. I know that light is both a particle and a wave. I actually read a book by a quantum physicist who says he believes, this is a Jewish quantum physicist, whose name I unfortunately don't recall, who believes that God exists on the quantum level. And I remember from my reading, someone on Nova said, if you think you understand quantum physics, it's a sure sign you don't. So
That was
the
Niels
only
Bohr,
thing
I
I
believe.
can answer, what? Yeah, Niels Bohr?
I think-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We have physicists on this show that could probably deal with that. But at the end of the day, what I find a lot of the time from theists who talk about quantum things is that quantum is just the newest gap in our understanding, the newest frontier of ignorance that they're able to insert their God into. Back in the day, we didn't know where lightning came from, so that was God. Then we learned what it was, and now it's not God anymore.
We had Zeus
And it's the
throwing
same-
thunderbolts, yeah.
Right, and it's the exact same thing as evolution and, you know, the plate tectonics and the shape of the planets and the rotation of the heavenly spheres and every other single thing. When we don't have an explanation, it's God. And then when we do have an explanation, it's so complicated, it must be God. And whenever there's a thing that we can't quantify, like the massive scope of the universe or the tiny, tiny things in the quantum level, that's where God must live. And it's just lazy thinking. You're inserting magic into places where it need not be, because first, before you do any of those exercises, you need to demonstrate that there's a good reason to believe in a God in the first place. Show me a novel, testable prediction of a God. Something that you can say, if God exists, then I can do this thing, and if God didn't exist, I couldn't do this thing, and account for variables, and show me an actual test with hard inference. If you can do that, then that's a reason to say that we need to be looking for a God on whatever scale. But you haven't done that yet, and now you're finding these little scales to try to force a God into, and there is no such fucking thing as a God.
Well, we can only agree to disagree, I'm afraid, Forrest.
well,
why?
It's interesting that my middle name is Forrester.
Okay.
that's funny. Okay. Look,
Well,
we can agree to
yeah.
disagree on opinions, but not on facts. You're making factual claims that are factually incorrect. So there is no like agree to disagree in that realm.
Well, present your facts, and there's a very good chance I may agree with the majority of them.
Okay. The
But-
fact is, a photon does not have some kind of additional extra. All right, let me rephrase. A soul and a photon are two different things. Two different concepts.
Well, like I say, the Gospel of Thomas, Logia 50, Jesus says that you are children of the living Father, of the light that came into being of its own accord. And that's something that we
why do you
can't
talk
understand.
about living? Why do you talk about living light and not living water like Ray Comfort and everybody does? Why don't you pick some
That's
other
true.
verse, like the verse where they talk about like
because
tiny
I
things
am
and say that
quoting
that's
a
talking about
particular
atoms?
passage. Because
So is
I
Ray
am quoting
Comfort.
a particular. I am quoting
The living
particular
waters passage is also
Let
in
me
the Bible.
finish.
No,
Let me
you're
finish
saying
the
dumb
damn
shit.
thought.
No,
Of
you're
course
saying
I'm
the
saying
same
dumb
thing as
shit. I'm a
you're
fucking
saying
asshole.
the same
I'm a
thing
fucking
as Ray
idiot.
Comfort and stuff. You're saying the same stuff as Ray
I'm
Comfort
not
and other people. You're just
familiar.
picking a verse
I'm
that
not
you like.
familiar with Ray Comfort. I'm not familiar with Ray
Oh,
Comfort.
that's a humble brag if there ever was one. But what I'm saying is you're just picking a phrase or a verse that you're comfortable with without actually backing up why we should care. The Bible also says that the definition of pi is 3. And the Bible also says that stars can fall from the sky and land on the ground.
Well, because I believe because in near-death experience, people have gone through the tunnel and found themselves in front of a being of light. They have found themselves
Except the ones who haven't.
But I think that there's at least 9 million people who've had NDEs in the United States alone. And
weird how they never stand up to actual testing.
I don't believe that's true. I think
that is true.
I disagree, because I've read about experiences that have been sort of rigorously tested in terms of again, veridical experience. You say that the tennis shoe on the ledge is bullshit. I've never
It
heard
is.
that story refuted that way.
Oh yeah, just look into it. I can give you a little synopsis if you would like.
Sure.
Let me just look it up. Give me a second here. Hang on. Shoe on the ledge, near death experience, right?
While he's looking that up, you're saying that you've never heard these things refuted. Where are you getting your information from? Are you actually checking like sources that are critical of what your stance is, or do you just believe whatever you read?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, of course I believe whatever I read. That's all I ever do. But I actually go online and I Google near-death experience with verifiable information, verifiable data. It's also
where are you
called
getting the
veridical.
information from is what I'm asking you. Because I can do the same thing, and I can pull up articles from the Institute for Creation Research. That doesn't mean that's actual fucking science that I should be believing.
And I've got the story here. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
The claim is in 1984, for the audience if they're unfamiliar. 1984, a migrant worker named Maria was hospitalized at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle after cardiac arrest. Social worker Kimberly Clark Sharp reported that Maria described an out-of-body experience during which she floated outside the hospital and saw a dark blue tennis shoe on a third-floor window ledge with specific details. Worn little toe area, lace tucked under the heel. Sharp says she went to the floor, found the shoe exactly as described, and could only see the details Maria mentioned from outside the building. Here are the problems with it. It's a single source, no contemporaneous documentation. Sharp didn't publish this account until 1984 and later in her 1995 book. There are no medical records corroborating the cardiac arrest timing, no witness statements, no photographs of the shoe. The entire case rests on Sharp's testimony years after the fact.
So it's merely anecdotal hearsay, you're saying?
Yes. Also, Sharp is not a disinterested party. She went on to found the Seattle International Association for Near-Death Studies. The Hayden Eburn, Sean Mulligan, and Barry Berrystein investigation from 1996. These researchers from Simon Fraser University actually went to Harborview and tested the claim. They placed a shoe on a ledge in comparable conditions and found that it was visible from inside the building through the windows on that floor. So if this is even real, which we have absolutely no reason to believe because there is no Maria, this person has never turned up. But even if it were real, you can see the shoe from the window that she was sitting by.
Well, I understand that she was bedridden and, enclosed in curtains and such as that she was immobile.
You don't know that. The story keeps shifting. That's another problem. It's a fake story.
Wait a second. In what I have read of that account, those were the details that were stipulated.
You're going to ask something for us?
Yeah, no, I just want to ask, and I think he almost just answered this, but I want to clarify. Frank, had you heard any of those contentions about this story before?
There are more, too.
No, I hadn't heard any of the things you just...
okay, so you are staking a belief. You are staking a belief in the nature of the universe, the nature of human beings, that souls exist and what they are and all these things. And one of the first evidences you brought up was near-death experiences. And when Owen mentioned this one, you were very hostile to say, no, this one's very real. And you've never even bothered to look up if it's fucking true or why it might not be. You've never inquired about it?
Wait a second. To the contrary, I didn't mean to be hostile. I may have been frustrated, but I didn't mean to be hostile. And also, I have looked it up on several occasions. I've read about it in a couple of books, one by P.M.H. Atwater. I've read about it online on several occasions, and I never found those details
Critiques,
to have been
maybe?
brought up
Yeah,
in a critique of the experience.
You learned about it from biased, one-sided sources and never bothered to skeptically analyze it.
I did look into it. I was telling you. I've looked it up online.
When did you look up online reasons to believe this shoe story isn't real, or criticisms of the shoe story, or why the shoe story is fake, or is the shoe story accurate? Like, did you look those things up, or did you just look up, tell me more about the shoe story?
I just said, I asked more general, what about, I looked up veridical or verifiable near-death experience stories. And
you got one that is neither veridical nor verifiable.
Well, you know what Thomas Jefferson said, don't believe everything you see online.
Yeah.
You should listen to that quote, because clearly you have believed a thing that you just saw online without testing its veracity first.
I know.
I not only saw it online, I looked it up online after I read about it in Children of the New Millennium by PMH Atwater.
Liars write books, Frank. Liars can write books.
What?
Right.
Liars can write books. They're allowed to. It's the law.
Well, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, yeah.
Right.
Trump wrote
So if you read something in a book, and then you look it up online, and online you find the same claim, still doesn't mean you should believe it. You should actually investigate it and look up arguments against what you're believing, especially if it's something that's like a crazy big claim, like that souls exist and people can VoIP out of their body and fly around hospitals. Like, those are big claims you should be taking a little bit more skeptically than just believing it because you saw it one time in a book and one time on Google.
Okay, that's one story. There's another story has to do with a person who was in an operating room. They had the out-of-body experience.
Before you tell me this story, Frank, have you ever deliberately looked for evidence against this story or reasons why you should not believe in this story?
Well, that's a good question, and I guess next time I go online, I'll say evidence that falsifies near-death experience.
That'd be great, because as of right now, because I'm not going to sit here and be Google for you and find a reason not to believe in every story you have.
Yes, at least look into the criticisms of everything. Like, I've studied World War II extensively and found that sometimes, on occasion, scholars get some things wrong. You can't fully trust any one source on anything. You have to get your information from as many different sources as possible with different biases and everything else. Now, the one...
Okay, you've studied World War II extensively. What is a salient example of a myth, a false anecdote from World War II?
They claimed that there was a conspiracy theory called the stab in the back myth. They claimed that they lost World War I because Jews were working against them from the inside. That's one conspiracy theory. That was Hitler's rationale for the Holocaust. Yeah. Part of it, of course. And also there's another, the claim that the communists planned the burning of the Reichstag fire and it was like an orchestrated effort. That was also a myth from World War II era, whatever. Yeah.
I believe that Hitler burned the Reichstag, just like I believe Trump had Epstein murdered. I think that Hitler burned the Reichstag as a pretext to take over the government.
I think that was spread, that idea, by a neo-Nazi named David Irving, but actually it was just like a Dutch guy who was disgruntled, who was a communist. It wasn't like a plan by the Communist Party, but it was just like a lone wolf attack or whatever, my understanding. And definitely...
He was also simple-minded, wasn't he?
I'm not actually sure. That's possible, but he was
Well,
disgruntled at the very least. But
developmentally disabled.
yeah, the
as we
word,
would
the
say
term
today.
"simple-minded" was pretty rough back in the 1930s. But anyway,
Yeah.
and then you said that you think that Trump had Charlie Kirk killed. That's
No, I believe
Pretty-
that Trump had
Epstein.
Epstein killed.
Epstein. Okay, interesting.
I'm
not convinced of
No,
that
I
one
think
either.
that-
But
Well, I mean, Trump's more than willing to kill, people on like alleged drug boats on the flimsiest of evidence.
yeah,
Right.
No,
I think it's fair
Mhm.
to say, just like with 9/11 and everything, like it's fair to say that the government is obviously lying about some shit. It is not fair to then fill in those gaps of your knowledge with a whole fucking orchestrated story about,
but I
backroom
never said
deals and
anything about
billionaires and shit.
9/11.
No, I was using it
but,
as an example. I was using it as an example. Same with the Epstein, dying, and with 9/11 is similarly. It is very obvious that the government is like lying about some shit. It is not very obvious that there's this fucking secret plot to do all these crazy things. Like, yeah, no, they're shady as fuck, and they lie. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. We were talking about in the last show. The Charlie Kirk assassination, very obvious that the government is lying about some shit. Not obvious then to fill in that gap in your ignorance with a whole story about it. And that's what you're doing here, and what you're doing with God. Here's something I don't understand, and so I'm now going to blow that little pocket of ignorance into this massive fucking story about some guy who runs the universe, and so photons are souls, and all the near-death experiences happen because shoes exist, and it's like a whole thing. You're just I encourage you, Frank, to be able, find the ability to just say, I don't know something, and then either leave it at that or try to learn it.
Okay, now, regarding Charlie Kirk, it's interesting.
Oh, God.
In the beginning of September, I'm disabled, I'm paralyzed on one side, and I have a lot of balance issues. And in early September, I fell and broke my humerus and spent a week in the hospital. I'd never heard of Charlie Kirk until I was in the hospital bed, and Charlie Kirk is going, well, the Bible says, if a man lieth with a man, it is an abomination, and you shall put him to death, and his blood shall be on his own head. And then he went, I'm just saying. And the guy that killed Charlie Kirk had issues with bisexuality. So I don't think that the government killed Charlie Kirk. I think that the guy who killed Charlie Kirk did so because he was part of the LGBTQ community and abhorred Charlie Kirk's, homophobic views as well as his influence.
I understand that the person who killed Charlie Kirk, according to officials, did it for violent, nihilistic, extremist reasons, not for political motivations. That's, I believe, where things have settled. That he was just looking for some way to make a mark on society, basically. Or just make a mark on society, not a statement, because that would have been political.
And that's different than the other statements where they were talking about how it was because his roommate / partner was trans, and then that narrative changed, and then those text messages, which were totally written by real human 20-year-old people, came out, and then they said, actually, a lot of those are just summaries, and it's not real, and it's all horseshit. But what you just did there, Frank, once again, is you took somebody that you even admitted you didn't know anything about until very recently, and you just invented a life history for them, and a life history for their killer, and a philosophy.
I saw him online say very homophobic things. And so
he was a racist and a homophobe and a sexist and a neo-Nazi and a total piece of shit. But then you brought in a whole bunch of other stuff about his past and about the shooter's past and the shooter's philosophy and a bunch of other stuff that you don't have evidence for. So it's the same thing as all the rest of this, man. You keep just inventing a narrative to fit your comfort.
Well, I remember there was a school shooting at a Christian school in
Yeah.
somewhere in Tennessee, probably Memphis, and the shooter had been a student at that school, and
I remember.
Remember?
they were part of the LGBT community too. They may have been like, pre-op transsexual, or certainly, bisexual, or one
think
thing
the
or another.
term
And the thing is that
Coming
I
in
think-
hard with the outdated
Yeah,
terms. We got
yeah, that's-
transsexual. we got simple-minded. We got
Yeah, those terms are
Jesus.
super outdated and offensive. Frank,
Well,
I
no,
got to ask
um,
you a quick question, and then we're going to have to get out of here. Are you familiar with the euphemism treadmill? You ever heard that term?
well, I know a treadmill in the gym.
Euphemism
Are you saying
treadmill
that I'm just-
euphemism treadmill is a term that refers to the fact that we use terms, and over time those terms become offensive, and then we use different terms. Like, we used to use the term Indian
Like
a lot,
retard.
and yes, that's a good
just
word.
throwing more slurs. Hell
Yes, that was not a slur.
Well, I'm just
20
illustrating
years
your
ago,
point.
or 30 or 40 years ago, but that is now a slur, and it's
Mhm.
deprecated in favor of the term mental condition, or
Develop-
what's the term?
Mentally disabled.
development-
Mentally
Mentally
disabled.
disabled.
Yes,
Or
mentally disabled. So anyway, yeah, I'm just saying a few of those terms you threw out there have been deprecated in favor of others, because people use these hard terms to hurt other people. Just something to kind of keep on your mind. But all right, we're going to get out of here, and I appreciate the phone call so much. It's been an interesting one. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Please,
We'll talk to
please
you
be
next
more
time.
skeptical, Frank. Bye-bye.
Yes.
That was rough. It was a rough 40 minutes. Just over and over. Here's this thing that I heard, and I didn't really investigate it at all, but I've decided that this whole thing is now real. And all the way down to like, well, here's these shooters that were LGBT, so it stands to reason that they did it because they're LGBT. Okay. And what about all the other shooters that aren't? What about the fact that the vast majority of shooters are white, cisgender, heterosexual men? What are we telling about them? Can we say there's diversity in that community, but somehow not in this other one? Like, what is going on with that? It's just inventing a story to fill in a gap in your knowledge, and that, oh man, it sucks.
Absolutely. And that specific thing that he mentioned at the end there about trans people and shootings, this is obviously, as you know, Forrest, talking point the right is using at the moment, but it's completely fabricated. Like, proportionally, they are significantly less likely to do something like that than the rest of the population. The real problem are straight white males, if you want to really point a finger and figure out what's going on.
There was that whole story. I forgot who the fuck it was. It was some right-wing group or something like that. They published a study where they like calculated like who's doing mass shootings and whatever. And it's where they get the talking point where a lot of right-wing people are now saying that over half of all mass shootings are done by trans people. It's because in this one study that this right-wing group published, I can't remember what the fucking details are. I hope somebody can remind me. Is like they just measured like 10 mass shootings and made sure 5 of them were by trans people. And like they I forgot how exactly they set their parameters, but they set their parameters of what is included as a mass shooting in such a way that it eliminated 99.9% of all mass shootings and only accounted for ones done by trans people and then like 3 others. And they had like a sample size of like less than 10. And that's where they get that talking point now. And it's just fucking hot trash. I apologize for bringing this up without remembering the details, but I know that's a thing. I'll see if I can try to find it. But like, holy flip, that's
absolutely vile.
Ugh.
Very clearly just them trying to push a lie intentionally. Like, you cannot convince me they didn't know exactly what they were doing. It was complete nonsense at that time. Vile. That's the kind of thing the Heritage Foundation does a lot. They publish all kinds of fake studies and push narratives and memes that Republicans can latch onto like that. And, you know, people like Frank believe that stuff, I'm sorry to say.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I wasn't sure if you
it's-
were looking that up, so I was stalling for you.
No, I am, but I'm not
Okay.
finding anything in 2 seconds, so I'm going to let it be.
Okay, I was also going to say, funny enough, my mom actually completely disconnected from any form of politics at all as a Jehovah's Witness. And she was telling me she heard that, like, when Charlie Kirk died, she had no idea who he was. And she said, and I also heard it was actually a right winger, like one of his people who did it. I found that super interesting that, like, the narrative about who did it stuck like that, even though we know it was not a right winger now, of course. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
According to the gun violence, this is just a fact, just a point of interest on that topic, because I know that I couldn't find the fucking thing that I was talking about, but I did find the statistic that is relevant to the conversation. So for those who are out there and want to know, according to the Gun Violence Archive, between January 1st, 2013 and September 15th, 2025, there were 5,748 mass shootings in the United States. Of that number, 5 were committed by trans people. So, very, very small number, disproportionately small for their population size.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Meanwhile, run those same numbers on white cis men.
Yeah, and like, there may not even be like a problem specifically with white cis men or whatever, but the point is that they're pointing the fingers in the wrong direction. Intentionally for political reasons. Yes. Anyway, all right. You want to take the next one?
I was going to jump into number 18. I thought that would be fun for both of us.
That works.
Hell yeah. Let's talk to John, calling in from Arizona, who wants to talk about why he supports Trump and Israel. John, you're on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing today?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well.
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
This is all my personal opinion. If I have any connection issues, I'll call back in. I have resentment for the political left, primarily because of C-19. The left was imposing totalitarian lockdowns in 2020 and 2021, but in the summer of 2020, the left flips. They do a complete 180, and they encourage.
Wait, who was president in 2020?
President Trump, but it was Democratic governors that were implementing the totalitarian lockdown.
So when you say totalitarian, just to be clear, I was going to say ignoring the Republican states that also did these things, but whatever. You're like back when the Spanish flu. Back when the Spanish flu was going around, we had like masking mandates and all sorts of things just to combat viruses. When there's a public health issue, telling people to stay in their homes, and like if you look at like other countries like New Zealand, putting people in their homes, limiting access to like public spaces, and giving them like checks and shit in the mail, stimulus checks to make sure that they can survive that time and all those things. Those are great ways to keep people safe and alive. You're calling it totalitarian because it's the government doing stuff. But the flip side of that is rapid, widespread virus transmission and people dying. So, like, what would you rather do?
What I was going to say is if lockdowns were going to be a thing, fine. But I just found it extremely hypocritical. But maybe it's more hierarchical. That were you for the protests in the summer of 2020 for George Floyd?
You mean the Black Lives Matter protests?
Yeah.
I was
absolutely.
Yeah, I was personally concerned. Hang on. I was personally concerned about COVID spreading and believed that people should be very careful, wear masks, stay outdoors, and things like that. But yes, I am in favor of people making their voice heard about police brutality, without a doubt. Obviously.
Yeah, so just to be very clear, because you're right, this is an obvious, like, I want to avoid the trap here, is yes, I'm in favor of free speech and peaceful protest in any case. I am also especially in support of that particular cause. And also, I wore a mask to the protest that I attended. So, like, and a lot of other people did too. You can actually find videos of me online at these protests with a fucking mask on.
Well, yeah, I mean I think it's hierarchical. I mean, in the deranged mind of the left, it seems to me that fighting racial injustice is more important than protecting grandma. So this is why I find
No.
it. And look,
Not at
It
all.
was
looting-
outdoors.
And that's a very
looting.
fun
looting
that's a
that-
very fun script, but just to be clear, that's not actually a hypocritical situation. And if you're talking about like the government being inconsistent with these things, which it sounds like what you were going in a little bit ago, talking about flip-flopping and all these things, I would agree that's a hierarchical problem, because at a certain point capitalism kicked back in, and the government wasn't making enough money, and so they just decided to change their rules, and Joe Biden declared the pandemic over at a time when we had higher infection rates than when we went into lockdown in the first place. So, yeah, I think the government blew it a lot of different ways. I think Trump blew it worse than anybody else by denying that it existed, pretending like it was just going to go away, saying several times that it'll disappear literally like magic, telling people to inject bleach into their veins, pushing the fucking hydrochloroquine or whatever the fuck or ivermectin scams. Like, those are all ways that Trump blew it. But at the end of the day, what it was a bunch of people not listening to science and not taking science seriously, or pretending like places like the CDC changing their guidelines from one day to the next was indicative that they didn't know what was going on, instead of just the fact that they were learning at the same rate as the rest of us and telling us the most up-to-date information they could. And so you had this widespread anti-science, anti-vax, anti-authoritarian nonsense that wasn't really helping anybody and was actually making things actively worse, mainly pushed by the right. And so when you then also have a volatile political situation where black people are being massively disproportionately murdered by police officers, and people reach a boiling point with that and they go out and protest, most of them protest safely. The vast majority of protests are nonviolent. The vast majority of violent incidents are shown to be caused by external agitators and white supremacists. I think overall that tells a pretty good story, not just of the political left, but of the strength and resilience of the American people at all, and how easy it is for them to be bought into bullshit populist anti-science narrative.
All right. Well, certainly the chaos rioting that went on, and looting is certainly an indirect.
There's almost no rioting or looting. Don't bullshit us. You can bullshit your ridiculous family members who buy any bullshit that you lay down, but we know better.
What was there, about $2 billion worth of damage, or am I wrong on that?
Oh man, that's almost a number that makes sense. At the end of the day,
how many
if
people
you can point
died?
to some damage,
about 40 people. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you can point to a couple of things. As I said earlier, there was also like clear evidence that there were a lot of external agitators, including a lot of white supremacists, that came in order to cause violence and in order to stir things up. Not even going to talk about the magical piles of bricks that just appeared upon alongside the routes of these marches and things like that. Who knows what that was all about? But what's more important here is that you are just buying into the same fucking talking points that have been used for generations. Here's a picture of a political cartoon of Martin Luther King. And he says, I plan to lead another non-violent march tomorrow. And the city's fucking burning and on fire behind him. These are the same talking points that have always been used against civil rights advocates and civil rights movements. Anytime there's a protest, people on the right particularly will say, oh, it was so violent and looting. And they don't talk about when people like fucking when Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl or wins a sports game and burns their own city to the ground. That's not a problem. But when it goes against this, the standard racism of the country, now it's something we can compare it to and draw this weird fucking flimsy straw man analogy you're doing here, saying, well, that was a hypocrisy because, COVID, we were supposed to be in lockdown. It's just fucking lazy, dude. It's lazy, boring, worn out talking points that don't hold up to scrutiny.
Yeah, the villainization of whiteness is the opiate of the left.
Oh my God, please.
Summer of 2020. This is also the Gaza protest.
Who villainizes whiteness? Who villainizes whiteness, John?
The political
Who villainizes whiteness? Who does it?
Political left in the colleges. Dude, I'm answering you, right? It comes from colleges, universities.
Colleges. Pardon me. I thought you meant people who believe that college is a good thing, the collegists. But what you're saying is actually almost exactly as silly. Yeah, so how exactly are we vilifying whiteness?
Yeah, right. So if you're familiar with James Lindsay, right, he did these grievance studies like hoax papers, and basically what he did is he took Hitler's manifesto, Mein Kampf, and he basically just changed the wording around a little bit to replace Jewish people with straight white men, and the shit was actually accepted. This is one example, man. It has to do with postmodernism.
Accepted by
so-
who?
Accepted by whom? Where was this published?
Academic journals. Dude, you can look this up, man. Academic journals. You know who
I
James
intend to.
Lindsay
Who
is?
are you talking about? Who are you talking about? James Lindsay?
James Lindsay. Yeah,
Spell
PhD
Lindsay. Is it
mathematician. Very smart man.
Lindsay?
Yeah, if
I'm
you
just gonna look
type
it up.
Like hoax paper. Go ahead. Take your time.
So you're saying that this was accepted by an academic journal? It was a study, I guess. You're saying that an
No,
academic
he did like.
journal published?
Yeah, he did along with I think his name is Peter Boghossian and Helen Pluckrose. I think
Oh,
they did
okay.
about
Not
20
surprised at all that
papers.
they're in that.
Me either.
Yeah, they did about 20 papers, and I think 7 of them were accepted. And then but it came out that it was a hoax sometime. So I don't exactly
Do you
know how it played
understand
out,
what
but
the
yeah.
peer review process is and how it works and what it's for? You understand that people submit things to peer-reviewed journals to be peer-reviewed, and if the peers review it and see that it is not legitimate, then it's pulled?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, it came out that it was a hoax like sometime.
Well, it wouldn't matter if it was a hoax because it hadn't been peer-reviewed yet, right? It was submitted to the journal for peers to review it, and they didn't? Is that what you're saying?
Dude, you asked me who villainizes.
Look, this
white
is your
people.
example. This is your example. You
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
right.
anything about this?
No, I'm telling you about it. What are you trying to ask me here?
Did they submit it to a peer-reviewed journal?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
your
it's the
complaint?
academic journal
And
stuff.
was it peer-reviewed?
Also, what journals?
Yeah, here I'll pull up the full details for you. One sec, okay?
So you don't know about this. You're giving us an
No, I
example
do,
that
man.
you are unfamiliar with. It sounds like it's a talking point for you. Is this just a talking point?
Dude, I'm telling you about it. I'm telling you that James Lindsay intentionally did hoax papers, and one of them was taking Mein Kampf and replacing the wording.
Yes,
of-
I heard
of
you the
Jewish-
first time. I'm asking you,
Uh-huh.
did anybody in the academic community actually take it seriously? Because you're telling me he submitted it to a
Yes,
journal.
it was
Academics can
the
submit
whole
things
point.
to journals. What matters is if it's
That was
peer reviewed and is cited multiple times by those peers. Was it?
Dude,
I mean, how many
the whole
citations
point.
did it have?
So-
Was it considered legitimate?
I just want to point
The
out,
whole
I'm
point-
literally, what, John, you misrepresented this a lot. So like, what you talked about is that it was
Bullshit.
published. What you talked about is that it was published. What you missed
Accepted
is
for
what
publishing.
publishing is all about. And I can actually, I'm not even going to just talk about myself. I'm just going to read some of these quotes here. Evolutionary biologist Carl T. Bergstrom in the Chronicle of Higher Education wrote of this event, the hoaxers appear woefully naive about how the system actually works, explaining that peer review is not designed to remove fraud or absurd ideas at its outset, but that replication and review would then lead to self-correction. Sarah Richardson from Harvard University, professor of women's studies, criticized this event by saying that they didn't include a control group in their experiment. By their own standards, she says, we can't scientifically conclude anything from it. Daniel Enber wrote that the Hoaxers Project says nothing whatsoever about the fields in which they chose to target, since we know from long-term experience that expert peer review offers close to no protection against outright data fraud. They assert that no one could have run this... They could have run this sting on almost any empirical discipline and returned the same result. So what these guys did is they published some shit, they put out some flashy things, which if you've ever actually done anything in academia, John, you would know the way to get published is either to do really good hard-hitting research or just write some inflammatory shit saying everybody else is wrong. It'll be put out there. And then when they got it into the papers, they didn't talk about what the scientific community actually said about their ideas. They didn't talk about what their reception reception was. They didn't talk about whether they made any waves in the literature or whether people took them seriously. All they said was it got published. And that means that the academia is bad. These people don't understand how academia works, or they are deliberately lying to you about it. All they did was publish some inflammatory shit. That happens all the time, and it gets thrown out the next week. That's what it's
happened
for.
No,
here.
dude. No. Well,
Yes,
can I talk
dude.
now? Okay, so what they were intentionally pointing out the absurdities and how crazy the colleges have gotten. This is postmodernism. This is the Frankfurt.
That has
Well, here,
nothing
I'll
to
read
do
this
with how
to you.
crazy colleges have gotten. That's
Are
nothing
we
to do with that
debating
at all.
Charlie Kirk? I feel like we're debating
Seriously.
Charlie Kirk right now.
He mentioned some
What
shit about
happened to
this
Charlie-
sounded very similar to
minute.
Great Replacement Theory a second
okay.
ago.
I shouldn't have brought it up.
Look. CRT in queer theory is the religion of the left. Okay?
Oh boy.
And if you want to talk,
I guarantee you
wanna-
don't know what those things are.
critical
What's
race theory?
CRT? What is what is it?
Critical
Can
race
you tell me?
Well, yeah,
What is it?
It's basically it's villainizing white people for all the problems.
No.
of the
No, it's
not.
No, it's
No.
not.
It's
Um,
it's a-
legal. I'll say DEI if you want, woke, whatever you want, call
But
it whatever
wait,
you want, man. It's,
Are
Yeah,
they
no,
the
no,
same
that's-
thing?
Actually, John, I appreciate you saying that because that is the actual fact of it. CRT, DEI, woke, all these things, they don't mean anywhere even close to the same thing, but they all mean the same
Yes,
thing
they
to
do.
you.
It's-
They all just mean the N-word. That's what they all mean.
Pretty much.
It just means anti-whiteness. Look, you've been
Yeah,
brainwashed.
so
with
what's
this
funny-
shit. It has to do with
What's funny, John-
postmodernism. It has to do with the
What's funny, John, is that during grad school, I actually did study some critical race theory. I have one of their main foundational books on it around here, and I've yet to meet somebody in your position who has such a big issue with it, who knows what the fuck it is, and that including right now. You cannot define it, and you have no idea what it actually teaches. And we used critical race theory as well as black feminist theory and just critical theory in general as like frameworks for archaeological analysis during my time in that particular part of grad school. And it was actually really useful for like understanding human culture and history and whatnot in ways that would be really interesting academically to talk about. If you'd like to try to actually have that conversation, I'd be down for it. But you probably should know what it is you're mad about first.
race and gender are not social constructs. Okay,
They very
I know you
obviously
think they
are.
are.
Yes, they
No,
are.
they're not.
Yeah,
Race?
as
You
a-
think race is real? You think race
Do you
is
think
real?
race is a
In what
biological
way?
construct?
In what way is race real?
If I
You do race,
a
I'll do gender.
DNA test, if I do a DNA test, a saliva test, or whatever, and I submit it,
You're
to
talking about
23andMe or
ethnicity, not
Ancestry,
race.
Ethnicity is just race is just a cluster of ethnicities. That's all. It is.
No.
No, it's
No.
not.
You
No,
believe in
it's
race-
not even close.
Wait a
Hold on.
minute.
Race is
Oh, my
invented
God.
from the 1700s to categorize people who were inferior and superior. Ethnicity is different. Ethnicity is real. There are, South Americans and North Americans and Asians and so on and so forth. Race and ethnicity are not the same.
Look,
I still wanted
I said, man, it's look.
I would
look,
love for you
look,
to explain
this is
gender
the
as well. That sounds like fun. But I want to start with race
yeah,
here.
You want to know?
So-
No, just real quick. Gender. When I was born, the doctor said it's a boy. I have a Johnson. That's why I'm a man. This is why you people are fucking crazy.
Okay, you're not
Okay?
real. This is not
Yeah,
real. There is no
So
way
you
in
don't.
hell.
Okay. So John, you don't know what a
Wait,
man is, but we can
look.
get to that in a minute. First, I still want to talk about race for a second because as a biologist, I'm very interested in why, and we can get into gender as well in the same field here. So my first master's was in anthropology. Race was a thing we talked about quite a fucking lot when we were studying this stuff. So I want to know how you justify your categorization system of race. Tell me about it.
Well, I was telling you that if I do a DNA test, they're going to tell me I'm Irish, I'm German, I'm Romanian, I'm these different
Ethnicity.
things.
Those are
That's why
nationalities, not races.
You're a biologist. You believe in evolution, don't you?
Absolutely. It was a
Oh,
major part of my undergrad
okay,
research
just-
and my first master's.
Just tell me if I got this kind of right, okay? Just generally speaking, humans descended from Homo erectus about 200,000 years ago. Humans left Africa about 100,000 years ago. There were two ice ages, right? One was about 70,000 years ago. The other was about 28,000 years ago. and this is where different races formed, right? White people ended up in Europe, Asians, Asia. People crossed the Bering Strait that became Native Americans about 12,000 years ago. Are we in agreement somewhat?
You're missing
no?
a lot, but the general framework is there. Humans evolved in Africa. Our species is 300,000 years old. We are all Africans. And as we spread out from Africa around the world, differences in things like skin color and hair texture and average height and eye shape and all those things came along with population dynamics in different regions. And those are clumsily categorized as race today.
Oh, no.
Do you fucking believe there's racial differences in IQ?
Yeah, you're absolutely.
Are you wait, just really quick. Do you believe in phrenology?
No, but there is differences.
Oh, well, at least we got
no,
that.
but
at least we got that.
No, but he says. Yeah.
So
Hey,
you're missing a bunch of different issues there. But I do want to get. I'm going to get back to race, but I think we can actually circle it around. Tell me what the definition of a man is.
Well, here, can I just say real quick? High frequency alleles is what the differences of intelligence is. One of the things, right?
You don't know what those words mean, and you're also wrong. But I always want to ask you about what's a man.
Well, this is why the average IQ of American black people is 85. East Asians are about 105. So we can come back to that if you want.
That's nonsense.
No, actually, that has nothing to do with what you're being wrong about. Not only are you wrong, but also what you just said doesn't account for any differences that you might find. You don't fundamentally know how these things work. But I would be happy to get into it later. What I want to talk about now is, what's a man?
A man would be an adult human male.
Okay, so you agree that it's a social thing then?
No, I don't.
You just used two socially categorized terms. You used adult and human, both of which are very cultural and very fuzzy and have a lot of gray area. So what are we talking about?
Well, let me ask, you think trans women are women?
Absolutely, obviously.
Okay, would you have sex with a trans woman then? Are you straight? Because I wouldn't. That would be gay.
I wouldn't because I'm married, but I'd rather you actually focus on the science that we're talking about.
No, just okay. So if you weren't married, or are you straight? I'm straight.
Are we talking about science or
just to be clear, this is the obviously cowardly, like, fun little gotcha question because he doesn't know jack shit about biology. So now it's just, well, would you have sex with them? First of all, just so we're all on the same page.
No, we can.
No, John. Oh my God, John. Yeah, just so we're all on the same page, John. I am straight, which is why I like all women. You're a little less straight than me. You just kind of like some women. I like all women. I'm extremely straight. The major thing here that we're talking about. Oh my God, this is why. John, you still don't know what a man or a woman even is. You don't know what a man or a woman is. And for you to say that sex and gender that gender's a real thing, does that mean that gender and sex are synonymous?
They're synonyms, but look, what I was going to say is...
Okay, so if gender and sex are synonymous, then how is it possible that someone changes gender? Well, no, because I'm trying to hold you to the science that you're so scared of. How is it possible that someone's gender changes over the course of their life in your worldview?
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, there are rare exceptions of intersex, but they're very
Not
rare.
talking about intersex people. Not talking about intersex people. I'm talking about the fact that well, let me ask you this. Were you born a man, John, or were you born a boy?
Yeah. I was born male, yeah. Born a boy, yeah.
Were you born a boy when I was a boy? A boy. And then when did you become a man?
Oh, I guess, we'd probably say when puberty or age 18 or however you want to say.
So
young man is an adult.
So your gender changed. So you believe that people can change genders?
No, my gender didn't change, man. This is why we.
You went from boy gender to man gender.
Boy and man. A boy is just a young man. That's all that is.
I see. Okay.
This is
so then what you're saying is these terms are socially constructed and they have to do with age and cultural norms.
No, this is your problem. This is postmodernism. This is the Frankfurt School. This is why you're crazy.
Really quick, John. Yeah, no, I know all the buzzwords. I've heard them all before. John, if gender and sex are synonymous, then what biologically changed that cause gender norms to change across different cultures and across time?
Look, I mean, there are. If you want to say that, and what I was trying, I'll answer your question, okay? And what I was going to say is, I've talked to enough of you all. I debate people on TikTok, right? Like, I'm known as John Stone on there, but I've talked to enough of you all on the left, okay, to know how you think. That you think where I just focus. I think of anatomy.
I don't think you do, because you keep blowing it on basic biology terminology. I'm going to ask the same question again. How did biology? Yeah, I know, because you weren't answering the question. How did our biology change that caused gender constructs to change across time and space in different cultures? What's biologically different between these different cultures that have different gender concepts?
I don't think it did. This is what I'm trying to. This is why men can't become women.
Nobody says they can.
You just told me trans women are women.
Right, which means they're not men.
No, it means you're crazy. Look, like I was going to say, I've talked.
You don't know shit about it. You just have to fall back in the same fucking thought stoppers. This is all the woke indoctrination, because you don't know fucking basic biology.
Just keep interrupting.
Snowflake, dude. Come on. Stop being a snowflake.
Just answer the question.
I'm trying.
It's basic biology. What's the definition of a man?
So mistreated.
Let me just say this, okay? I've debated enough of you all on the left know how you think. You
that
think
you
it's
still
more about
don't know biology.
You keep fucking interrupting me, dude.
You keep saying stupid shit. You literally mentioned the fucking Great Replacement theory earlier. You think I'm going to take you any kind of fucking seriously? You don't know what sex and gender are. You don't know what race is. You don't know anything about anything besides what you learned from fucking Newsmax.
Dude,
and then you're going to come on here and say, I'm indoctrinated because I question myself? And then you're going to fucking, instead of actually engaging with biology, you're going to just give me a gotcha. Would you fuck a trans woman? What the fuck is that? First of all, it's so fucking lazy.
Yes?
You think cake stops being cake just because there's a fucking candle on it? Fuck off. Second of all, like, oh my god, dude, can you be even fucking lazier with your arguments? Lazy fucking gotchas and try to like get me into a little thing that I say something that you think is distasteful rather than actually engaging with real fucking science.
I'm trying. You interrupt me, dude.
You don't know anything about biology.
So mistreated.
Sorry.
Oh well, here, look, here. You know, look, and I'll say this too. I don't know if you heard it, and I'm not pivoting. I never got the C-19 vax either, despite the totalitarianism of the left in 2021. I don't know if I said that or not.
Yeah, nobody is surprised you're an anti-vax idiot. Nobody's surprised.
Oh, hey, did young people need them, dipshit? Was it a good idea for young people?
Everybody should get them.
Literally everybody,
oh, really?
Yeah. Overwhelming evidence of it.
Oh,
now tell me more about myocarditis and athletes or whatever the fuck you've been told to think.
Did it stop transmission?
It
significantly reduced transmission, yeah.
Bullshit. Okay? Look, I'm not a doctor.
Oh, really? Where's your cohort study? Where's your cohort study?
I'm into, like I said, man, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm into alternative medicine.
Oh,
the
interesting.
Doctors made me a lot fucking worse. Interesting.
What is your biological training, John?
I like to think of myself as an autodidactic shaman.
Oh, so you don't know jack shit and you learned a bunch of bullshit on Reddit and 4chan.
Well,
that's about what we thought.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting, John.
Well, I just think in my personal experience, doctors made me a lot worse.
Oh, wow. So you're going to call in here, just to be clear, you're going to call in here and tell us about how we're woke and brainwashed and indoctrinated and how postmodernism and all this stuff, while also saying that the people who go to school for decades at a time and learn the best information we have about real fucking science and actually discuss and debate and criticize articles like the ones that you talked about with Peter Boghossian and all those other people, those people are all the ones who are saying that, reality doesn't matter and postmodern, we can't learn anything. Meanwhile, you don't know jack shit about any of this, have no training in any of this, learned a bunch of dumb shit on the internet, repeat Newsmax talking points and Charlie Kirk talking points, and have just decided you're fucking right with no training in any of it. Sounds like the calls come from inside the house, John.
He's an autodidactic shaman. Show some respect.
Yeah, please. God, forgive me.
Wait. Well, wait.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
you
I'm
think
waiting so hard right now.
Okay. Do you think doctors are at all influenced by the pharmaceutical industry? Do you think there's any
Oh
maybe
man.
capture there? You think that has anything to do
You
with it?
mean
You think there's
you
maybe
mean to tell
natural?
me? You mean to tell me, John, that capitalism may have a negative influence on medicine? You're telling a socialist this? You fucking idiot. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Oh,
But
so we're
not
in
nearly
agreement.
as much as you think, which is why if you actually had any training in biomedical sciences, you would know that influence isn't anywhere close to what you're fucking believing, because fucking Alex Jones told you to fucking huff hemlock or whatever the fuck testosterone boner pills he told you to buy to become super healthy and fight the establishment of the medical machine. It's fucking stupid. You bought and sold by a bunch of right-wing fucking grifters coming on here and telling people who actually study this shit for a living that they don't know anything about anything because we believe, gasp, evidence that goes against your personal heuristics and worldview. I care about facts, not your fucking feelings, John. You should try it sometime.
Well, then you should really take into account the average IQ differences if you're telling the truth. I can tell you.
Oh, wow.
What ailments
So
I've
average
had,
IQ differences. Hey, really quick, John, what do we use? What tax specifically do we use in this country to fund education?
What?
What tax
What tax
goes to funding education? How do we fund public education in this country, John?
You know?
Property taxes, I think. I think property.
It is property taxes. Yes, it's property taxes.
Oh,
so
did I pass the fucking test?
You got the first part right, good job on you. Now, follow-up question. If we were, for example, just in a hypothetical situation, John, totally hypothetical situation, if we were to have some situation, right, where we have a country that has hundreds of years of slavery followed by several decades of disenfranchisement and oppression, where we literally drop bombs out of airplanes to destroy cities and neighborhoods where one particular kind of person lives, and then we have a massive over-policing problem and massive public health differences, massive differences in maternal mortality rate and other things that can't be accounted for just by people being just stupid or low IQ or whatever like that, right? And we push people over and over through things like redlining into certain neighborhoods. And at a certain point, we have a country where the people that were the first people to be able to be allowed to go into a certain restaurant, to be allowed to use a certain toilet, to be allowed to drink out of a certain water fountain, to be allowed to be around within arm's reach of a white person without being fucking beaten to death about it, those people are still alive today, and they're living in these neighborhoods they were forced into with significantly lower property values. Do you think maybe that would have an impact on their educational quality and IQ testing? Hypothetically, of course.
A little bit, but not
A
as
little
much
bit.
as the genetics.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And considering the fact that is only one small part. Yeah, shut the fuck up. And considering that is just one small part of the systemic racism in this country, John, that people like you perpetuate with your fucking brainless 4chan talking points, don't you think that maybe all those things together, completely hypothetically here, might have a bigger factor to play in IQ scores and things than, like, say, for example, genetics does? I know that fucking, James Watson did a number on your tiny little fucking brain, John, but at the end of the day, real biology and real sociology and real psychology and real biomedical sciences and the real scientists who do real work to learn real things and don't just cater to your fucking fragile little baby ego actually have answers for these things. And they show consistently over and over and over that the shit you're talking about isn't fucking real, bro. It's not real. It's all an invention. It's something made up. It's all in your mind. It's a conspiracy pushed by the woke right, all to change your mind. Oh my goodness, it's so scary. Lizard people and
yes,
blah, 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 blah.
and also the IQ stuff that you're talking about specifically. IQ is not what's the word? It's not culture independent or whatever. It's not a good measure of people's actual intelligence. Its only real use is to determine if somebody is mentally fit to stand trial. That's the only place it's used in society today. It is
Which
not
is why
useful.
we see which is why we see differences in not just race, but culture when we're talking about IQ. Because if you ask somebody what's the best path from A to B, someone from a different culture might pick a more beautiful path rather than a more efficient path, where someone in our capitalistic culture would pick the more efficient path and then grade them on that. IQ tests prove that you're good at taking IQ tests. That's why Stephen Hawking said people who brag about their IQ scores are fucking losers. And I wholeheartedly agree with him, as do most scientists, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and
But
you
of
know
course,
how we,
that doesn't align with your feelings, so maybe it's not
Right.
true.
Am I,
you know how we-
am I still on?
you
Hello?
are still on.
Unfortunately.
Yes. One more thing.
Oh.
The average IQ in rural India is 75, but the average IQ in the cities in India is closer to 100, somewhere around where, cities are in the United States. It's not
Mhm.
a genetic thing. It's a culture thing. IQ is
an
not a
opportunity.
good measurement for this. Okay.
Big
yeah, still
correlation
on.
with educational opportunity, things like early childhood education, preschool, all sorts of things that you don't get in impoverished cities, like, the places where we put ethnic minorities in this country. They don't have access to those early educational opportunities, so then you have a bad IQ score, and then dumbass racists like you come along and say, oh, look, it just must be genetically determined, because
Right.
something that's been disproven for well over 100 years is actually
factor.
real.
What?
Wait a minute. Look, it's a factor, okay? Genetics are a factor.
Oh,
right?
suddenly we know
No.
what phyllotypic situations are.
fucking keep
Oh,
it-
wow.
You're afraid to let me talk, dude. You're like the fucking cowardly lion. You have to keep interrupting.
Yeah, no,
You're
so
fucking afraid.
suddenly we know how phylotypic categorization works. Oh my goodness. Can we go back to talking about gender with that mentality?
Dude, okay. That during the ice ages, this is where the different races evolved, and this is where intelligence increased.
I already know what
Okay?
you're going to
And look,
say.
if you want to talk about,
It sucks so
if you
bad.
wanna talk-
You're-
It's so fucking dumb.
if you want to talk about discrimination, why is it that Ashkenazi Jews and East Asians have higher
Oh, boy.
IQs on average than whites? If it's all discrimination, tell me that, please. Explain to me.
When
Oh, man,
you,
it-
Yes, I will explain. When you correct for all of the flaws that the IQ test has, all of the differences evaporate. Like I said, the rural Indians have an IQ of 75. The Indians in cities have an IQ of like 100 or more. It's not something that you can apply to race, because race isn't real. Okay? Race is fictitious. It was made up. Even applying it
Yeah.
to ethnicities, even applying it to ethnicities, there are no substantive differences. Let me guess. You believe that white people had to plan for the future, right? Because they went into an area that had snow, so they had to plan ahead, and the other cultures don't even have the word for future in their language or whatever. All of that is made up. Okay, every
Yep.
culture
cold weather theory.
had to plan for the
Richard
future.
Lynn.
Yes, it's bullshit.
Charles
Every
Murray.
It's totally
culture, every culture had to plan for the future. Every language has a word for the
Winter.
future. What?
Cold weather. Are you familiar with cold weather theory? Are you familiar with
Yes,
cold weather
I
theory?
literally
He's
just
describing
fucking
it.
Richard
He
Lynn.
explained
just
it.
said it.
You have gummy bears in your ears? Did you hear a word I fucking said?
He has Charlie Kirk's dick in
no,
one ear
man,
and
but you
Robert
sound
Sepper's
pretty-
dick in the
you
other
sound
ear.
pretty-
He can't pause it.
Hey, you
Yeah.
sound pretty. I don't have gummy bears in my ears, but you sound pretty fucking fruity. And by the way, drag queens shouldn't be reading to children either. You people are fucking insane.
Oh, so you're just
Okay.
jumping to the next talking
He
point
lost.
because this is
He
another
lost.
area where you don't know jack shit about basic science.
No, he just
Also-
lost, and now he's resulted,
No,
or
we
he's
can stay on IQ.
Just to the next
he's
thing.
fallen to
to the
insulting
next thing.
people.
Yeah. Oh, we're just going to jump to the next. Oh, drag
Stay with
queens.
IQ.
Drag queen. Meanwhile, hey, by the way, John, really quick, you called in saying you support Trump and Israel. So you're real mad about drag queens, support reading children. Don't care about genocide and don't care about the fact that your president's a pedophile. Weird priorities you got there, John.
Not a genocide. Not a genocide. In
Oh, my
Israel.
God.
And the
You don't know what
reason you
genocide
care-
is either.
Wait, wait.
On top of all of this, you don't know
This
what a
is
genocide is
Yeah,
either.
super
here, no,
interesting
let's
to
try,
me.
Let's try that. You're
This
the one
is
that pivoted,
interesting.
but let's
So-
stay with this. Hey, when society starts fucking wars and refuse to surrender, it's their fucking fault. And it's like Imperial Japan.
Oh,
and
wow,
WW2.
yeah.
That was the right
All the
decision.
people in Gaza started a war together and they all refused to surrender together. What's the definition of genocide, you dumb fuck?
They elected Hamas, motherfucker.
What's the
In
definition of
2006, they
genocide?
elected 'em.
Oh yes, yeah. In
there's
2006,
like
when over 50% of the population was under the age of 5, they elected Hamas. Oh my goodness. Hey, really quick, what's the definition of genocide?
There's like 5 points to it, but if you wanted me to give you something basic, I would say the unjustified killing of a group of people would be my basic definition.
No, there's a very specific definition with 5 key factors. There's a very specific definition on purpose. Right. Do you know what any of them are? Or is that just another thing? No. I'm just curious. Has Nicholas Fuentes allowed you to know any of those 5 points yet? Or is that another thing you just don't think about?
I really don't like Fuentes too much, you know.
I bet.
No, he's probably too far left for you.
For one thing.
Probably too far left.
Look,
so just to be really clear, the definition of genocide, just so you fucking know, the definition of genocide is measures taken to eliminate, to kill off, to eradicate an ethnic, racial, religious, or whatever group, and it has to be with intention, and it's one of 5 specific things that are done to eliminate that group. It is killing members of the group, causing severe mental or bodily harm to members of the group, creating conditions of life meant to bring about the group's physical destruction, either in whole or in part, transferring children from the group to another group, or preventing births within the group. I know that off the top of my head because I actually give a shit about whether things are real, and I don't just say things that I feel are right like you do. That's the definition of genocide, which is absolutely what's happening in Gaza, as per the stated declarations of high-ranking Israeli officials, including their prime minister. That's why they were found guilty of genocide in international court, and why genocide scholars around the world all agree on this topic. You just don't know what words mean, like words like man, woman, or race, for example. You don't know jack shit about any of this. You just have strong opinions that you learned from Charlie fucking Kirk.
Keep on interrupting.
Hey.
Well, let me say something. Okay. You know, the adults in Gaza have had much harsher views in terms of the gay community and toward women and toward ethnic minorities than Charlie did.
Oh my God! It's like a fucking.
Are you laughing at them too?
It's so easy.
Are you laughing at them too? Are you laughing at them too?
So just to be really clear, we're now moving on to the next Twitter talking point, which is that the people in Gaza are anti-LGBTQ. The people in Gaza are anti-LGBTQ, therefore, the left shouldn't support them. I don't give a fuck if they're I don't care if they're more transphobic than you, motherfucker. They don't deserve to be fucking genocided. How is that fucking hard? It's the laziest talking point that you just heard on Twitter today. Every single fucking thing that you brought up is another meme. Another fucking easy meme that you fucking idiots spew out instead of actually thinking. Hey. It's so fucking stupid. Hey. Hey. It's so fucking stupid, dude. You don't know anything about anything. You just have strong opinions. You got fucking all bark and no literacy out of you this entire fucking time. I encourage you to go read literally fucking anything. It would help a lot, seriously. Start with the Bible. It'll be fun there.
Why aren't you? You don't let me talk, dude. You're fucking scared. You keep doing
Such a snowflake.
Yeah, no, we're so scared. We're so scared. That's why we've been entertaining every fucking brainless, dumb shit talking point you've had for the past 40 minutes. We're so fucking scared. You fucking idiot.
Dude. What? Hey, you want to get in the cage, motherfucker?
No, because unlike you, I have a functional brain, so I don't need to fight about my problems with fist and big, strong man. I can actually think things through.
Oh, are you scared, Forrest?
You run your fucking mouth all day long.
Better be scared.
You're a pussy.
I'm super scared.
Yeah.
Look.
No, I do hard think. You do punch when man's a mean word. It's fucking brilliant.
Such a
totally
snowflake.
Beating the allegations, by the way. Totally beating the allegations.
Oh, look,
that's why I always say the right is so violent. They're so violent. They can't handle a simple debate about concepts on an academic standard. They just get violent. You see this? The violence inheritance in the right.
But you're over talking and insulting me. That's why,
John,
you running your fucking mouth.
you illiterate cunt. I'm not insulting you. I'm describing you.
Well, there you go. You just heard what you said to me, dude. But you didn't answer the question. Was the way the U.S. ended WW2 in Hiroshima and Nagasaki the right decision? I can tell you why it was. What do you think? When society
absolutely fucking
surrender,
not.
It's their fucking fault.
Absolutely not. The mass slaughter.
Okay,
the mass slaughter of tons and tons of innocent civilians who have no control over what their government does in a meaningful way in that way just to prove a point? Absolutely not, because I'm not a fucking man baby who needs to fight with big bomb and big gun and big arm. I just, it's so fucking weak, dude. You and Trump are seriously, it makes sense why you support Trump. It makes support why you support Trump, because Trump is a weak person's idea of what a strong person looks like, and that's all you're giving me here, is just weakness with a lot of fucking bloviating to go behind it. Let me tell you about what books you should read. Start with Campbell's Biology, motherfucker. It's a great one.
Dude, just let me say this. The alternative of not using nuclear weapons on Imperial Japan would have been a full-scale invasion. It would have resulted in the death of about 300,000 to 400,000 allies.
We didn't need to use.
The Japanese would have been
need to know shit.
There would have been Soviets. There would have been.
We had to kill them, otherwise we would have had to kill them. Oh man!
Let me just debunk that too. We did not need to. We did not need to drop
9 days to surrender.
We didn't need to drop a bomb on Japan. They were already on the brink of surrender. We dropped that bomb on them because we were trying to show force to the Soviet Union. It was completely unnecessary at that time. Now, they needed to be defeated. I'll give you that. But we didn't need to do a mass civilian casualty event like that. That was by choice.
Anyway, this has been really fucking funny, John. I really do appreciate you showing me just how fucking low IQ and brainless every one of your fucking talking points have been, because this is the kind of MAGA that we debate with. You called in to say you support Trump and Israel. We never fucking covered any of it until the very end, because you flew off on your own fucking dumbass tangents. And at the end of the day, you've shown that you don't know what race is or how it works. You don't know what gender is or how it works. You don't know what the terms man or woman are. You don't know the difference between sex and gender in even your own worldview, apparently. You don't know what the word genocide means. You don't have any good reason to support the pedophile in office. And I bet you anything, if we pressed you on it, you'd probably bring up Joe Biden. It's just lazy and lame and boring and insignificant. And I really hope that somewhere down the line, oh man, another Charlie Kirk talking point? Say it isn't so. Color me shocked. Western civilization. Oh, what a joy. Yeah, I forgot that you fucking believe in great replacement theory as well.
And Trump stopped.
I forgot you believe
Trump fucking won.
I encourage you to follow Trump's advice and go fucking drink some bleach or something. Hey, it's like, goddamn, dude, this is fucking embarrassing.
You're fucking.
Oh, do you? You think I'm gonna fucking continue? Seriously, I don't know why you think anyone here is gonna take you seriously. If you were halfway respectable, we'd be having a serious conversation with every single one of your talking points right now, but all you're doing is just getting more and more triggered and just spreading your bullshit emotional talking points with no fucking facts behind them. It's like I'm listening to fucking Newsmax. It's god-awful, dude. OANN in 1 year, and fucking, Nick Fuentes in the other year. No, pardon me, not Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes might be homosexual, right? And, of course, we can't just move on without being homophobic and transphobic, too. Well, let's be civilized here. Strong Western civilization. You're a fucking joke, John, and everything you believe in is dumb as all fuck. And I hope you can move up out of your mom's basement someday. But as for right now, Owen, I think I'm done. You done?
I'm done.
Go tell everybody, go tell your friend, the one friend that you have who totally isn't a fucking sock that you made, about why we're so scared of you and you're so big and strong and we never get in the ring with you. Oh my God. Because you're so fucking tough. It's pathetic. And you should be ashamed of yourself, but I don't think you're smart enough to be. Later, John.
That was embarrassing, honestly. Like, holy shit.
Fucking loser.
That was, seriously, like, he started, like, saying he wanted to fight us. Like, what the fuck?
It's the fucking big noise from a small mind. What I find is really interesting. It's just, I don't know, man. I think that if John ever gets close to a woman, he's going to press his ear to her vagina like a fucking seashell to see if he can finally hear the sound of his mother saying that she's proud of him. And then that'll be the best day of his life, and he'll stop being such a little bitch. But until then, John's going to continue just saying whatever fucking, Donald Trump allows him to say and tells him to think while calling everybody else indoctrinated. What a fucking loser.
That shit was wild.
Can't help you, bro. I know how to read, so unfortunately, I'm not a part of your team. let's go to the next call because we have 3 left, and frankly, we're running a little overtime on the show. Do you have a preference? Because they're all atheist and agnostic.
No preference. I'm good with whatever.
All right, man. Let's talk to Caitlin. Pronouns Faye and her. That's going to trigger John, who is absolutely still listening, very angry with a very confusing erection. Caitlin, you want to talk about secular spirituality? What's going on with you?
Nothing much. That was quite a call.
Yeah.
I feel like he did the word autodidact a disservice because I consider myself an autodidact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I do so by going to college and learning.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You mean the Liberal Indoctrination Center? That the collegists believe in?
I guess it became so because facts kind of tend toward that direction. But
yeah, at the end of the day,
so,
reality has a left-leaning bias, as they say.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think how to start this. I grew out of religion at like 18. I wasn't really raised super strongly in religion, but I just kind of believed because everyone, it sounded like everyone else believed. I'm like, oh, everyone else can't be wrong. But then I learned more about world religions and all the contradictory claims, etc. But more recently, I have been trying to grow spiritually and have some sort of there's these spiritual experiences that humans have. That's a pretty common experience among humans. It's obviously just an experience in our brain, but like there's something there, the awe and the connection. And so I've been struggling to find that in secular communities because there's not we're kind of siloed into our own niches and interests. Whereas with religion, you can have people from all sorts of walks of life in the same religion because they believe in this higher power. And so, I'm sure you are familiar with the arguments about throwing the baby out with the bathwater with religion. Like there are some good aspects. And so recently I started actually going to LDS services. And I am struggling with that. And I don't know. Do you have any
Why?
thoughts?
In what way are you struggling?
I'm struggling to, I don't know. I guess it feels like maybe it's a false sense of community, but just struggling to find, as a trans woman, struggling to find community and acceptance and, I don't know.
Well, LDS certainly is not going to be accepting of who you are, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, on an institutional level for sure, and I definitely have done that research. I live in Eugene, Oregon, one of the most liberal areas of the country, I'd say. And so far, the people have been great. But again, I'm going. That's a whole nother topic too, because I haven't even told them I'm trans.
That's not going to go well.
I don't know.
I know a lot about Mormons.
No, I know.
And they don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have so far basically implied that I'm intersex without explicitly saying it because I've been looking into their general handbook and asking hard-hitting questions of the missionaries. I'm unapologetically an atheist when I go to them, but I'm also I'm personally fascinated by humans and sociology. Like that's what I want to study. I ended up getting into nursing because it's kind of a more practical financially. But I love learning about cultures and religions, partially to safeguard myself against the thought-defeating cliches and whatnot, but also because of community, because I think that's one of the things that religion does best. Which, there's not a lot of things that religion does well, but.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
So,
religion does do that really well, but there are other groups out there. Like there are secular groups out there you can find, atheist groups and things like that, especially if you're near a big city. They're all over the place there.
Yeah.
Also, Unitarian Universalist churches are pretty decent.
Yeah, I have been to a couple of those services. I should try to. I haven't been to one out here in Eugene. Last time when I was living in Vegas, I went to some there.
But why'd you pick LDS?
so basically because my partner grew up LDS, and so I had a minimal experience with them. Not enough to, like, I just wanted to learn more, basically, especially learning from individuals, like what they believe and why, because no religion is a monolith. And specifically, I've had, and again, I'm sure you already know, I hope you can assume this, I think this too, that all of these good experiences is not evidence for why any of their claims are true. I'm not arguing that at all. But yeah, I've had good experiences with the church. Like, I remember we moved to our current place a few years ago, and my partner's mom just called up the church, and we just had 10 people show up randomly to help us move. And, and then, like the LDS Church has justserve.org, which there are lots of problematic aspects of that and the whole church. And I'm not denying that, which is why I'm struggling, because if there wasn't a conflict, if they were like decent people, out of all the religions, I think I like Jainism the most, because it's like fundamentally a non-violent religion. Like, that's the fundamental tenet, but it's not really a religion that's practiced widely out in the U.S. So,
yeah, Hamed Mehta is an ex-Jain, I believe, and it's interesting for sure. And as a matter of fact, Martin Luther King Jr. learned a lot of his peaceful protest methods from Jainism. But anyway, I don't know. Generally, I say religion is good at community building, but it's more harmful than helpful in so many ways. So for the most part, I still think that religion, it's preferable to not be a part of a religion than to be part of one.
Right. So then how do you think we can learn from those cultures and, use that for secular communities? And also talking about spirituality, because, atheists and agnostics are not immune to thinking, believing stuff without evidence. And, I've learned a lot about the self and mindfulness and spirituality, especially from Sam Harris. Of course, while I don't agree with everything he says, but, and so it's just been hard to find that elsewhere, whereas that's kind of already baked into religion. I just thought that was interesting. One thing I was concerned about was, and I actually already called Chewed Gum about this. I just don't want, because there are intelligent people who believe stuff without evidence, and it'd be kind of dumb for me to think that I couldn't be brainwashed just because so I'm just kind of worried that I'm, can you convince myself of something? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. It's just something you have to be aware of course, that like you have to fact check every claim and everything, and also be aware that these groups are like, they intentionally set out to love bomb you. Like, that's part of the structure of the movement. The structure of the brainwashing begins with love bombing. So I would say the one thing that I would think is valuable to pick up from religious groups is the fact that people just get up and do it when they're asked. Like, they don't think about it. They don't say, well, I don't really have the time today, I don't really feel like it. They get up and do it. When somebody needs their help, they get up and they help, And
or like
that's something.
Weekly Sunday church. You're just like, I go to church. That's what I do.
And that is honestly, like, community is so incredibly valuable. It is so valuable. But if people weren't participating in community when they didn't feel like it, it wouldn't exist. So anyway, just something to think about.
Yeah. And what are both your opinions and thoughts on spirituality, secular spirituality in general, not necessarily community and all that, but does, like, does that word mean anything to you? For me, it's just a matter of
no,
meaning,
it means
and
nothing
purpose,
to me.
and okay. I guess it's just I've kind of co-opted the word, because that's the best word for me. The feeling of the feelings of awe and connectedness, and like feeling purpose, which I'm made for myself. But
I don't really have any connection to spirituality at all. I feel
Okay.
awe, certainly. And when I was little, I went to a place called the New River Gorge. It was just this gigantic cliffside in West Virginia, I think. And it was like awe-inspiring,
Mhm.
like really incredible. Like leaning over the edge and looking over like a 200-foot drop is really crazy, but there was nothing spiritual
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my
Yeah,
take.
for me, like learning what I've learned from about astrophysics from like Neil deGrasse Tyson, the way he talks about the universe and the scale, making us feel small, but also at the same time big because of our place in the universe. To me, that's just,
Yeah.
I guess that's all spirituality is to me, is meaning and connection to humanity.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I guess we just
Okay.
use the word differently, but yeah.
Yeah. Forrest, are you
All
there?
right.
I'm here. I just have
Is-
nothing meaningful to
okay.
contribute that Owen isn't already killing right now. Like, at the end of the day, I would say the same things that
fair.
he's saying is that like you should be looking for there are Oasis groups and secular hubs and Unitarian groups and all sorts of other things that'll give you that, because the religion, the community that you're looking for right now is a double-edged sword, and they're going to give you a bunch of fuzzy feelings that are not grounded in anything significant in order to sucker you into more bullshit and cause you to be wrapped up in a lot of self-hate and a lot of dogma that you don't need to worry about. And I wouldn't listen too much to Sam Harris, and I think you should just find a better group to hang out with, or make one as well. You can go find somebody, meet your neighbors.
I'm trying.
Start with that.
I'm the president of my GSA at my community college. So, but then
Right.
my
Yeah.
VP tried to usurp me, and that was that was one thing that kind of discouraged me.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that happens.
It's
That,
frustrating, but-
community comes with
Yeah.
drama, right?
Yeah. Even in religion,
hey-
I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, really
Especially
quick,
there.
Melissa Taborada in the chat, who just is putting Bible verses in there really quick. If you let me know right now in the chat that you will call in, I will ask our producer to open a line for you, and you can discuss God and religion with us. But if you're just here to quote Bible verses, nobody wants to fucking hear it. Owen and I are both atheists. We don't believe your God is real. We are happy to debate your God with you and discuss your God with you and talk about whether or not it's good. But that's up to you. If you want to tell us right now that you will call the number on the screen, we will let you do so. But
You won't do
otherwise, you're just going to be muted.
You won't do it. You're too scared.
Anyway, Caitlin, I hope that helps. I would look up Oasis. They have spots all over the place. They were really nice to me. Secular hubs. They have spots all over the place. They were really nice to me. And just try to find that connection somewhere else, because like it's I just don't want to see you setting yourself up for failure. You know what I mean? I don't want to see you setting yourself up for being hurt on them.
Yeah. I think I had forgotten totally, but when you had asked, why the LDS, a large part of it actually is because of advertising. Literally was getting ads in between my YouTube videos. And I'm like, okay, I'll put my information. So
they do that.
The worst case scenario, I'm studying Mormon culture, which has been very fascinating. But
absolutely.
All right, well, thank you so much for both of your thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Hey, do you like shows like this? Why? We got more of them though. Let me go ahead and pull up the full schedule here. Or do we have this schedule goes to the 31st. Yes. Do we have one that extends from there?
No, we have not done April schedule yet.
Yeah. I called you Arden. So, well then what I can tell you, folks, is we've got tomorrow we've got Skeptalk with John Gleason and Justin from Deconstruction Zone. Then we've got Chewed Gum coming up after that with Alyssa and Taylor. Then we've got the Hang Up with Matt and Deconstruction Zone again. And then we've got the Transatlantic Call-In Show with Ben and Riverboat Jack. And that's all the shows for this week. And you swing back around to next week, you've got the Sunday Show with Matt and Promise. And then Sunday Show After Dark that night with John Gleason and I. So stay tuned for all of those things. They're all things, and you can watch them, or don't. I'm not a cop, but it'd be a lot of fun if you did.
Do it or else.
I see that person, Melissa, didn't say they were going to call, but also they were timed out by the mod, so I don't know if they were timed out, but Oh, wait, no, it says that their chat's unmuted. So, Melissa, if you're there, again, all you have to do is tell us, yes, I will call in right now, and we will open a line just for you and talk about whether your God is real and whether the Bible means anything. This is your chance. Let's talk.
Didn't Jesus
or you can say
something,
nothing to nobody.
I believe Jesus said you have to spread the word, the gospel, right? This is your opportunity.
1 Peter 3:15 says you should always be ready to give a reason for the hope that you have. So, like, we're asking you right now, why do you have this hope? Why do you believe in this shit? So you're just quoting more Bible verses. Why do you think these Bible verses matter? Give us a reason for the hope that you have. Call in. 720-619-2288. If you just put in the chat, I will call in. We'll let you do so. But if all you're here to do is just preach, nobody wants to hear it. Your God's evil and it doesn't fucking exist and we don't care about it. Keep it to your fucking self. Those are your choices, yo. We've got just one call. Nope, 2 calls left. We've got just 2 calls left. And the first one is from Melanie, who says that Big Pharma uses vaccines to make sales. What does that mean? Melanie, you're on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty well. How are you guys?
Doing well.
All right.
Thanks for asking. So what do you got?
Okay, so it seems to me that we had, I know that probably the caller earlier touched on some of this. So hopefully, I know I'm going to sound just as dumb. So I apologize to everyone and to you guys, but my wife laughed at me a little while ago when I said, like, I guess what I thought. And she was like, her answer was kind of like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm embarrassed.
That's okay.
Like,
yeah.
It's like after I've seen all of like the big pharma show a complete disregard for mass human health in the interest of drug sales, and using that to justify selling drugs myself at one point in life, it seems like to me all I heard on the news was how many units they were moving. And it didn't seem like the actual effort was to get rid of COVID. It feels like if we wanted to do that, we could have all stayed inside for a month and been done with it. So it felt like it was an excuse and a means to, I guess, move units, for lack of better words. And that all being said, even if all of that is true, let's just say in a world where that is true, what difference does it make? Because I hear you guys on the line saying a lot to get the COVID test, or I'm sorry, to get the COVID vaccine. And I've been sick before, so I'm not quite sure how that works. But I guess even if all of that's true, is it still a bad idea to avoid getting the COVID shot in an effort to not take part in the drug sales? What I believe should have been solved.
Yeah, so yes, it is a bad idea right off the bat. You should get vaccinated for COVID for the same reason that you should get vaccinated for any notable present health threat that is, possible to be vaccinated against. You are reducing the risk that you. Yes, you should get vaccinated for the flu as well. And for the same reason, you are reducing the risk that you contract the virus. You're reducing the risk that you get severely sick from the virus if you do contract it. And you're reducing the risk that you spread the virus if you do get sick with it. So, it's like, seat belts and airbags, right? Seat belts are I think 30% effective. Airbags are closer to 50%. Put them together at the same time, they're close to 60%. Oh, excuse me, I think it's real bad. They're 60% effective at preventing fatality in a car accident. 60% isn't great, but I damn sure want a seatbelt and an airbag, right? And it's the same. Now we're talking about vaccines. Of course, no prophylactic ever, no drug intervention ever is going to be 100% effective. But they're up in the 90s in terms of contraction, getting severely ill, dying, spreading it. These are all things that you are really, really less likely to deal with. And so I'd rather have that than not, especially considering the fact that I've had COVID once and I was vaccinated and it hit me like a fucking train. I can't imagine what it would have been like if I was unvaccinated. But even if I handled it just fine, surviving isn't thriving. Lots of people have long COVID. Lots of people have lifelong disability or seemingly lifelong disabilities that go along with it, and major health issues to go along with it long after they've had the virus. And there are people around me who are sick, elderly, disabled, immunocompromised, who could be way more hurt than I was. And so overall, it's just it's in my opinion, if you can get vaccinated and you're not, if you have a reason to, like a medical reason, whatever, that's fine. But if you can get vaccinated, there's better be a damn good reason. And that can be that you're fearful or you're not informed or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a very selfish choice that I don't think you should make.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm saying that I trust you more than I do other people. Like, I guess I was wanting to talk to you or Erica about this. I've been wanting to talk to you guys for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So, like, how are there any, like, okay, so if I'm going to go get a vaccine, which one should I go for?
Whichever
Is
one is
there a
made
reason
available
why?
to you. You should talk to your doctor. I usually just get the Pfizer one. I think I got the Moderna one once. It doesn't matter. You should talk to your doctor, and she will tell you whatever they will tell you whatever you need to know. And you should talk to your pharmacist, and they will tell you whatever they have available. And you should get whatever one is best. And what the thing here, talking about moving units and all these things, like, the last caller, where one of the last callers we had was talking about, like, well, capitalism is, in there, and there's big pharma and all these things. Absolutely, these companies want to make a profit. There's no denying that. Like, obviously that's the case, and there's a ton of criticism there. But we do actually have statistical data showing that this actually does reduce infection rates and viral load and spread and harm and all these different things. That would be a terrible business model if the whole point was just to spray, sell units. It wouldn't work that well. And also, like, even if, like, I can point to a lot of things that are soulless capitalistic systems. I can look at, like, Walmart as a soulless capitalist system that's trying to sell units. Still going to buy food from there to eat, and I'm still going to buy food from there to donate. And so, like, at the end of the day, the ends definitely justify the means. And I think that it's reasonable to be skeptical and to be put off by the system that we have here of healthcare and all that stuff, and the biomedical and pharmaceutical industry and all that stuff. Totally reasonable to criticize them. Absolutely. But to put yourself and your friends and neighbors and family members at risk, I don't think it's justifiable in that way. I just want to make sure that you're not feeling like I'm just ignoring those points or that I'm not taking them seriously. I get it. But I think that the bigger picture here is so much more important, at least in this scope.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got laughed at for. It's just like the mistrust. She said I sounded like a paranoid, like, fucking conspiracy theorist, and laughed because I was coming from a right-wing household growing up. Like, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry about that. But, like,
it happened.
At the end of the day, like I say, I think it's really important, like, that everyone just familiarize themselves with, like, what vaccines are and how they work, and learn a little bit about the COVID vaccines and how they work, because they're slightly different than other vaccines. They're not new. mRNA technology like that has been being worked on for the past couple of decades. So the reason why Project Warp Speed was able to work so quickly and we were able to get this thing cranked out in a matter of months is because of the research that was done in the early 2000s on this stuff, And so, like, you've got a really remarkably safe and effective system here that's far more, just to go back to my other thing, far more effective than seatbelts and airbags. Seatbelts and airbags also cause injuries. Car accidents cause worse injuries. Sometimes people are hurt by every single pharmaceutical intervention, every single medical intervention, every single drug, every single vaccine has a risk factor always. Myocarditis is a big talking point people like to talk up. Even at our most liberal, like, the most possible widest branches, the highest error margin saying these are the cases of myocarditis with the vaccines, COVID outshines it by orders of magnitude. So, like, you are much more likely to be hurt by COVID than you are by any fucking COVID vaccine. The numbers on Tylenol are ones I usually point to. Tens of thousands of people every single year hospitalized, and hundreds of people die from acetaminophen toxicity. Fucking Tylenol poisoning. if I presented any vaccine skeptic with the numbers on Tylenol and said this is what COVID vaccines do, they would feel very justified in never trusting any vaccine ever again. But it's just fucking Tylenol,
I think that's kind of what it's from, though. It's just like a general mistrust of how that whole industry operates. And I've anecdotally have seen it in more than just my own life and family members who it was not about their care. It was about how much was pumping through the system at one time. And I guess like I'm on medication anyway because I'm trans. So like I'm taking a lot of medication all the time regardless. And like per the paranoia, it sounds like this might even be something that's like therapy related. If it's like that bad, like, I still kind of like am feeling. I know that it's something I'm going to do, but still feeling super hesitant to trust the people that are administering some of those medicines. At, like,
the person in chat who asked if the person in the chat asked if Tylenol is banned outside of the U.S. No, it's called paracetamol outside of the U.S. So just to be clear. Like, there are, I can't stress this enough, there are so many reasons to criticize the medical industry in this country. And I get it. Trust me. As someone right now, it took me months to get a treatment that I really desperately fucking needed. Had multiple doctors and specialists tell me, holy shit, you need this yesterday. This is absolutely necessary right now. Only to then immediately tell me, we'll talk to you in a month, see if we can squeeze you in 2 months down the line. And then eventually I got to a point where my insurance had to change and I had to go all the way back to the beginning. And I am still currently now weeks out from something that I have been told by several doctors for the past, almost a year straight. You desperately need this right the fuck now. I get it, dude. It's frustrating. It's annoying. It's expensive. It erodes trust. There's so much jargon that you have to go through and so much red tape that you have to go through. And the fact of the matter is, most people aren't trained in, like, biomedical statistics and shit. It's very complicated. And you hear big numbers of, like, oh my God, 10,000 people had XYZ problem. And that sounds crazy until you compare it to, like, I like to talk about, like, with the COVID vaccines, we've vaccinated more than half of the population of the planet. Like, if you aren't seeing piles of body, thousands and thousands high, it's not serious to say that there's this major risk factor, right? But when you hear the data that people throw at you, when anti-vaxxers and whatever throw out these scary numbers of, oh my God, these people had these heart attacks and these sudden health events and vaccine injuries, and it sounds scary because it sounds like it could be you. So I don't blame you at all for feeling skeptical or feeling abandoned. The fact that you live in a country where the number one cause of bankruptcy is medical bankruptcy, the number one reason why people open Kickstarters and shit is for fucking medical bills, like, I don't blame you at all for being disillusioned with the medical establishment, or being grumpy about it, or frustrated with it, or distrustful of it. All of that is totally fine. What I would encourage you to do is trust individual doctors who have dedicated over a decade of their lives to trying to make everybody around them safer and better, and trying to help you specifically. And yeah, they got bills to pay too. But dude, they wouldn't be doing that shit if they didn't love it, and if they didn't love you, and they didn't love people. So talk to an individual doctor about, hey, these are my fears, these are my concerns. It is their fucking job to deal with that and to assuage your fears and to give you the information you need, and have them assess it out for you, and let them deal with the paperwork. Because trust me, as frustrated as you and I are, guarantee they are too. They have to deal with fucking insurance companies practicing medicine without a license by doing fucking prior authorization and shit all the fucking time. So I promise you, they are also pissed. And find some community with them and talk to them about this, and maybe they can give you information that'll calm this down in your mind and give you more reason to hope and more reason to seek medical advice.
Well, I mean, it is fair to say that medical practices are usually wrong, in the sense that, like, in 400 or 500 years from now, most of what we do in medical practice today is not going to be done, and we'll have advanced and gotten better at that inevitably. So I think looking at it that way, we are wrong right now. We just don't know why yet. And sometimes we're better at being wrong than others.
I don't think that's the case broadly. That's true in a lot of ways, but like splints will probably never go away, or like certain like open heart surgery, we may find a more efficient way to do that, but or like I don't know. There are a lot of medical things that we do today that aren't going away. Vaccines are not going away. That's like one of our most incredible medical like inventions, I guess you could say. It's the vaccine.
Huge. Yeah, and what you're saying here, there's a phrase that we have in science: all models are wrong, some of them are useful, or all theories are wrong, some of them are useful. It's just to say, like, yeah, nobody knows what reality actually is, right? We just have the most useful, functional thing that we can work with today. And it's the same thing with medicine. You're right. We're always going to learn new shit. If I was talking about medicine 400 years ago, we'd be talking about leeches and humors and shit, right? But then we learn new stuff, and that's always going to be the case. That's not a good reason to distrust what's going on right now. Oh, and by the way, I don't know what the context is, but somebody talked about VAERS in the chat. VAERS. The vaccine... Oh, what's it called? Something reporting system. Vaccine adverse effect reporting system, I believe is what it is. And VAERS is a very... You didn't bring this up, Melanie, but VAERS is a very common talking point among anti-vaxxers because it's literally a database of negative side effects from vaccines and adverse reactions, adverse effects, vaccine injuries, all these different things. And so people go on VAERS and they're like, oh my glob, look at all these people who they got XYZ vaccine and they had whatever condition pop up. The problem is when you access VAERS, and I'm just saying this for anybody who has heard that talking point before, just so you know the truth about it. When you access VAERS, you literally have to go through like a pop-up thing that you have to click I understand that says this data is not to be used for the reason that anti-vaxxers use it. Let me see. Actually, I believe I can pull up the thing here. There's data.
What could go wrong in administering a vaccine? Either individually or on a mass level. Like, what would go wrong?
You could have an allergic reaction. So I just want to be pop this up here on the screen. I don't know if I'm going to make this the right size. Does that look good? So this is on the VAERS website. This is literally the disclaimer to try to get to the data. Like it explains anyone, including healthcare providers, vaccine manufacturers, and the public, can submit reports to the system. While very important in monitoring vaccine safeties, VAERS reports alone cannot be used to determine if a vaccine caused or contributed to an adverse effect or illness. Vaccine providers are encouraged to report, blah, 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 blah. VAERS reports may contain information that is incomplete, inaccurate, coincidental, or unverifiable. Reports of VAERS can also be biased. As a result, there is limitations to how the data can be used scientifically. Data from VAERS should always be interpreted with these limitations in mind. VAERS is really important for epidemiologists and vaccine manufacturers and places like things like that to keep track of stuff. But if I should also read this line: reports may include incomplete, inaccurate, coincidental, unverified information. Does not follow up on records of every report. If a report is classified as serious, they may request additional information. Big keyword there, may, right? So like, this is a self-reporting system. Anybody can report to this. There are reports of people's dog being run over by a truck the day after they got a vaccine. There are reports on this system of itchy buttholes. There are reports on this system of turning into the Incredible Hulk. Like, literally, anybody can post anything in that fucking system. So I just want to say all that to that. As far as what adverse effects could be, remember the way that vaccines work is that they're introducing what's called an antigen. So an antigen is just a thing that causes an immune response. Usually, in the case of normally traditional vaccines that people think about, is a dead or a weakened form of a virus. But it could also be a part of the virus, like with the new vaccines showing mRNA, and your cells produce the proteins that go around the outside of the virus. There are also bacterial vaccines. So you're just introducing something, not necessarily a pathogen, something that your body is going to recognize as a foreign agent and is going to attack. So we call that an antigen. That antigen response, that immune response, could be severe. You could have an allergic reaction to it. You could have a severe response that causes you know, when you get sick with like the flu or something like that, headaches, fever, chill, muscle aches, cold sweats, all these different things. None of those are caused by the virus. Those are your immune system fighting the virus off. So your immune response to the vaccine could be severe, and you could have all sorts of illness and problems. Lots of people talk about like, oh, I got more sick from the flu shot than I did from the flu. That means it worked. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean? And so in some cases, you could have an allergic response. You could have a severe immune response that causes major health problems, anaphylaxis, whatever like that. That's why a lot of people, when you go to a pharmacy instead of your doctor and you get a vaccine, they'll like monitor you for like 10 minutes until afterward just to be safe. You could have a variety. You could have a rash, infection, all sorts of shit at the site. A million different things can happen, but they're very rare and they're few and far between. And doctors know how to handle that and account for that and mitigate that risk. So again, just talk to your doctor and they'll know what to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Again, extremely rare, those side effects.
Extremely rare. Yeah.
I've had lots of vaccines in my life, and they always...
I can't get enough.
Yeah. Eat them like candy. They always tell me to sit down and wait for 10, 15 minutes, make sure I don't have an allergic reaction. If I do, they can fix that. They have, shots they can give you to suppress the immune response. It's not a big deal. That's why they want me to sit there if I have an allergic reaction. And once they see that I'm not having one, I go home and I move on with my life. And honestly, I've never had a bad reaction, like bad immune response. I've never gotten sick from a vaccine to any degree. I just, I don't even know I had it, basically. Maybe a little bit of a light fever at worst, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So.
I usually have more of a sore muscle at the injection site than I do with anything else.
Definitely.
The worst vaccine side effect I personally have ever seen was a cortisol shot, which is for treating allergy symptoms. And it's usually put into your butt. They put it into your booty right there, into the fats. It's a subcutaneous vaccine rather than like an intramuscular. And if you do that wrong, it causes fat necrosis, and you get a little dent in your butt. That's the worst vaccine side effect I've ever seen in my own life. But that's just me. Butt dents, y'all. They're a real thing. Be careful out there.
I'm all in. You have me sold. Anyway, any other questions?
I mean, there's another topic I could talk about, but I know that you guys are limited on time.
Yeah, we've got another call waiting, and then we got to wrap the show up. But I think this has been a productive conversation so far. Do you have anything about vaccines specifically, or anything about this topic, or if you want to call back in next time, we'd love to talk about something else.
Vaccines-wise, I think it's about, like, I appreciate you entertaining all of the ideas and thoughts that I had. I kind of caught in knowing that none of like the things I thought made complete sense. Like it wasn't a complete picture. So I appreciate you breaking that down. I have the lecture I can listen to back later on.
I appreciate you talking about it. Because
thank you guys.
As much as you came in here saying, hey, I know this is probably bullshit, but here's my issues, there are a lot of people out there that are seriously worried about these things. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and talking this through and being willing to listen to us and ask great follow-up questions. So this is a great call for us overall.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I will talk to you guys again sometime soon.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds great. Take care, Melanie.
Bye-bye.
Some in the chat asked, why do I sometimes get the flu even though I got the flu shot? What's important to remember is that with flu vaccines specifically, they're trying to get those vaccines out before the major wave of the flu happens. And so what happens is virologists and epidemiologists are tracking viral strains. So the flu has different strains all the time. And what those strains mean is the spike protein on the outside of the virus, whatever the genetics inside the virus is trying to replicate, the capsule, whatever, all these different pieces of the virus are all coded for by different things. And so they identify different viral variants, and using epidemiology, their massive statistical methods tracking, pathogens across huge swaths of people, they're able to make predictions about what the most likely strain to become the dominant strain and sweep across the country is going to be. And then that is what they make vaccines for. And so if you've ever gotten the flu after getting the vaccine, number one, can still almost guarantee that you had a lighter version of the flu than it would have been otherwise, but it may have just been that they missed the mark slightly and you got a different strain than was expected. that happens. Nature is nature. And sometimes those predictions aren't 100%, and sometimes the prediction is right, and then another strain comes in anyway. Shit happens, yo. But the point is, you are reducing your risk. It's all about risk mitigation. And there's that old, let's see if I can find it, actually, rather than just talking about it. The Swiss cheese model of virus protection is what I'm just going to type into Google and hope that something knows what I'm talking about here. Yes! So, this is called the Swiss cheese model. I'm going to cover that up so I'm not doxing people. And I'm going to open this image in a new tab so I can see it up close. And I'm going to put it on the screen here. Think about it like layers and layers and layers of Swiss cheese. Is that you have these viruses over here, and you put a layer of Swiss cheese, which has holes in it, right? So the virus can get through there. But you add another layer, and another layer, and another layer, and another layer. Each of these layers has holes, right? But together, all of them protect the most vulnerable people in your population, right? So staying home if you're sick, proper masking, hand hygiene, social distancing, quarantine and isolation, fast, accurate testing, vaccines, and boosters. Each one of these by itself is going to mildly reduce the risk. All of them together massively reduce the risk. And that's the whole thing. So it's like, you don't just have an airbag in your car and then you can do whatever you want in the car. You also need seatbelts. You also need proper driver training. You also need defensive driving training. You also need traffic lights that work. You also need brakes that work. Like, every single one of those things keeps you safe. One of them in isolation, not that great. All of them together, fuck yes.
Well said.
Thank you. Last call.
Yeah, I'm down to take it. You want to bring him in?
K. Pronouns she, her, he, him. Seems to be kind of whatever. Calling in from somewhere in the Middle East who wants to talk about gender and evolution. K. You've been waiting for almost 2 hours, but you are finally on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing today?
Very good. Big fan of you, Forrest. I kind of wanted to call in and talk to you or Erica, because I'm a very big fan of both your works. I was wondering if we could look at evolution as a maladapted strategy. Maybe it was useful sometime in our evolutionary history, kind of like tribalism, but it's kind of no longer useful in our modern day context.
You're talking about gender?
Yes, as separate from sex.
Okay, cool. Disagree. But please make your case for why you think that might be a thing.
I think, again, I will defer to you. You are much more educated than me on this. I have the idea that gender came about as a way of segregating labor among early humanity based on phenotypic differences. And an easy way to do that would be through the statistical differences between biological sexes. If I'm wrong on this, please educate me.
I mean, so gender is a social construct, and it's reflective of a person and their cultures, expectations, roles, norms, behaviors, whatever, that are both external and internally reflexive. And so, like, all of these things just have to do with one's perception of themselves in these contexts. I don't see how that could be... I don't see how you could make an argument that this is a specific adaptation that is now is anachronistic, or that it's maladaptive today. Like, where are you taking it? Like, where's that going?
I'm a gender abolitionist, personally.
Okay, that makes sense, considering everything you're saying. So then, what would this new genderless world look like? Like, how would that function?
Where gender would just not be a thing. Your biological sex would be just like your blood type, something that doesn't matter outside of a medical context.
Okay, when you say biological sex, which specific level are you talking about? Or are you talking about it kind of like as a wholesale thing?
As a wholesale thing, since as I've learned from you, and I like the term, it's a bimodal distribution. It's very fuzzy. It's not a strict binary.
Okay. So, I'm trying to wrap my head around this because I don't want to just ignore what you're saying. So, and Owen, if you know anything about this, please feel free to let me know. So
ahead.
gender
You're good.
doesn't exist in this society, and you interact with somebody, and there is no gender norm or expectation or anything there. So in this society, how then would you teach the history of gender?
Kind of in the same way you would teach the history of nobility versus non-nobility in the ancient Greeks. Because a lot of cultures used to think that nobility was something built into you. Like God made you special to rule over people.
But you know,
Okay.
some men are sexually attracted to very masculine men. Some men are attracted to feminine women. Some women attracted to feminine women. So I think that gender plays a role in mating rituals or whatever as well, right?
True, and I don't think like these behaviors would go away. Like there's still going to be your person who likes to go out and work out and be the big buff person and be your big hairy bear, but it's just not associated to any norm aside from that.
What would pronouns look like in this world? Would it just be a neo-pronoun situation? Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. There's many different ways they could go. There could be personalized pronouns. It could just be a singular neutral pronoun. It could be based on your relatedness to a person. Like if you're more closely related, either biologically or socially, you'd use a different pronoun. I don't know. I've heard many different ways for it to be implemented.
Okay. What about so I'm just trying to wrap because I assume you could have different pronouns for individuals versus groups versus relatedness. I'm just trying to think without a gendered thing what that would look like, and I've got some pictures in my head that make sense. I'm just trying to comprehend where you're coming from because I have my arguments against this, but I don't want to just throw out my arguments at you and just say here's why I don't like this. I want to try to understand where you're coming from. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it.
Okay. So in this gendered society, we talk about gender as in the way we just talk about things like nobility is that this is how things used to be. This is how people used to think.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do it this way. So in this case, I think it would be fair and not terribly like a gotcha or anything like that. I think it would be fair to say that this would produce a universal gender because it is still a socially constructed view and behavior and norm and category and all of the things we talk about gender is still there. It's just singularly universally applicable as a kind of null situation. So to be incredibly pedantic, it's everybody. There's still gender. Everybody just has the same one, so it doesn't matter, kind of thing.
I respect the pedantry, and I kind of disagree. I feel like it's the lack of a gender or the lack of a construct isn't the same as a single universal. It would kind of be like every person has their own unique gender, and you don't need a word for it. It's very individualistic. Like how you present is unique to you.
Okay, so it's not that everybody just like to continue on the pedantry a little bit, just so I'm trying to understand it better. It's not that everybody is. It's not that gender is universal. It's just that everybody's non-binary.
Pretty much.
Okay. I can kind of get that. Yeah, I can vibe with that. Okay, so if I was arguing for what you were saying, then I would say that my perception of masculinity as a man is very different than Owen's. And I know that without knowing even fully what Owen's perception of masculinity is. I just know that you and I are both men. And I know that if you were to describe masculinity to me and I would describe masculinity to you, we'd probably align on some things. But there'd be a lot of things that we just did, just nonsense. And there'd be some things that were really difficult to put into words. And if I described to you things that were produced gender euphoria in me, they probably wouldn't be the same things as for you all the time. So I can agree that gender is a hyper-individualized thing, and I can agree that gender experience and expression is hyper-individualized, and I can agree that gender is a lot like sexuality insofar as it's easy to make big, broad, blanket terms, but the actual individual experience for different people is so unique and specific that it's really difficult to make sure any one of those terms 100% applies to two different people. Are those fair ways to talk about like where you're coming from here. Am I understanding
No,
you? Am I smelling what you're stepping in here?
That is a beautiful way of putting it.
Okay, great. So that's how I would argue for what you're saying. And I think those are all good arguments that I would also make for why gender is a social construct and why gender is non-binary and all these things. To argue against the actual result of that, as it being completely abolished and all these things, is that it's kind of the same thing. We had this conversation a little while ago with somebody who was talking about just doing away with any kind of like concept of race, and racism would be gone if we just stopped labeling people based on races. The problem with that is that gender is historically associated with socioeconomic status and power. And as a result, there's a lot of history there, not just of what gender has looked like individually, but also of oppression and of resilience and resolve and perseverance and growth. There's a lot of beauty and a lot of culture there. And what you're doing by abolishing that and by applying this sort of, for lack of a better word, non-binary application to everybody, you are stripping them of something that they may have found community and identity and meaning in. And you are taking away from them something that really matters to them. You, as someone who is, I'm presuming, agender or just
Gender
strictly
fluid.
just gender fluid. Sure.
I cannot.
You, as someone who is gender fluid.
I cannot unprogram myself.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. No, I was just saying I cannot unprogram my brain from gender just as anyone could. I've been
precisely.
Box has been open.
I'm saying for you as a gender fluid person, you don't understand how important masculinity is to me, or what being a man feels like for me, and why that matters to me, or if it matters to me, because it kind of doesn't. But like in some ways it does, I guess. Mm-hmm. And because gender is a spectrum, as we agree, there are a lot of people out there that are going to have a much more serious connection to it. So to draw that connection again to race, right? If I were to take on the endeavor of saying I'm going to do away with racism, and therefore I'm just not talking about race anymore, that's easy for me as a white person, because I don't interact with race in a reflexive way on a day-to-day basis usually. But to a black person, I'm now taking away so much heritage and so much perseverance and so much strength and pride and things that really matter to them, even if they carry that painful connotation. And so it's not my right to do that. And I can argue that that was actually a cruel thing to do, right? And so I see the same thing here with we're talking about gender. I think that for a gender fluid person, it's probably pretty easy, or maybe I should just say easier, to take that stance, because you aren't on that other end of this gender spectrum where you have the kind of associations with it that somebody else would. And by advocating for completely doing away with the construct, while you could argue it would do away with, gendered prejudice and whatnot, because gender wouldn't exist in the first place, you are also necessarily stripping people of a lot of culture and a lot of identity that isn't yours to take. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. If I could just push back a little, I would say personally,
yes, please.
It's the opposite for me. I feel very connected. Like, that's kind of the issue. I feel too connected to it. And coming from both ends, because I'm a very binary gender fluid person, I feel connection to both aspects of this, and I don't want to strip it away from anyone who has it. Like, if you have your gender, experience it, go for it. I want there to be a world where no one else is afflicted by it. Mm-hmm. Not to remove what already exists, just to de-emphasize it slowly over generation until it becomes culturally irrelevant.
Right. Okay. I can see, like I said, I'm trying to really comprehend where you're coming from here, and I can understand that gender roles necessarily bring about stereotypes, and stereotypes aren't necessarily always negative, but they are limiting.
Agreed.
And that the social hierarchies that are based around it, like I said, gender is traditionally associated with socioeconomic status, power, hierarchy. Those things are limiting as well. And so the concept of completely freeing yourself from that system is enticing. I just don't buy into like the long-term goal of it. I think that at the end of the day, gender being a construct that pops up across human cultures, varied and fluid and non-binary as it is, the fact that it pops up across cultures in those ways tells me that there's something inherent about that internal perception of ourselves that matters to us. And in the same way that I would say do away with religion, but I wouldn't say we need to do away with rituals, because ritual is something that's very inherent to all human culture and has these meanings and things like, you know what I mean? I say the same thing about gender. I'm okay with doing away with gender hierarchy. I'm okay with doing away with gender oppression. I'm okay with doing away with gender stereotypes. I'm okay with doing away with all those things. I'm okay with doing away with gender expectations. I'm not okay with doing away with gender, period. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. Owen, what do you think? I've been talking this whole fucking time.
No, that's interesting. I agree. I mean, you have the anthropology kind of background to talk about this more, but like you were saying, it pops up in lots of different cultures, and I think it's actually more firmly embedded in humans than we realize, gender, because some people are not just attracted to certain genders or certain masculine or feminine or whatever, but they're also they have a very strong, deep connection to their own sense of gender. So anyway, I think that's interesting. I haven't thought about it before that deeply.
Yeah, it's a fun conversation. Also, to the person in chat who said, I don't think Forrest would stand 10 toes down on being against slavery abolition because enslaved people were resilient and had a unique culture like he is being on gender. What a ridiculous fucking straw man. Those are two very obviously different things. Weird rebuttal. But genuinely strange.
That's indeed a take.
Yeah.
That is a thing to say. For credit where it's due, all of those were words. Also, but yeah, no, that's. I think this is an interesting conversation, Kay. I'm not bought in, but I think it's interesting to think about. And I get from a feminist perspective, I get where this would be, a good argument, a good discussion. I don't think that it's completely absurd what you're talking about. I just don't. I don't understand, and I can do some research on this on my own time. I don't understand the process, and I don't understand the end goal, or rather, I don't understand what the end goal would actually look like. And more importantly, I just am very cautious to risk losing that part of humanity. And I don't know if that's even possible. Who knows?
That's fair. That's totally fair. I want to sharpen my stance a bit more. That's why I wanted to ask you or Erica specifically, being the biology.
I'll be interested to hear what Erica has to say. I'll be interested to see what Erica has to say as well.
I would love that. Hopefully I can catch her when she's on someday. Would that be a fair way of looking at, because I tend to look at it like tribalism. Tribalism, I'm assuming, again, I might be wrong, had a positive adaptation in fitness at some point. I no longer think it does.
Mm-hmm. I feel like tribalism does lead to things like racism and xenophobia. Sure, and you could argue that's a negative side in a global society, in a society like ours. That's a negative side, but it isn't. It also leads to you defending your family and protecting your kids and things like that. And you can see. It's one of those. It's kind of like testosterone, where people kind of misinterpret what it does. With oxytocin, is that bonding hormone. You can literally blast that shit up somebody's nose, and they will fucking fight like hell for their family. They love harder, and they fight the outgroup harder and shit like that. You know what I mean? And so you can. The cool thing about tribalism is it could be hijacked. Henry Teifel's studies back in the 1970s are really big on that, where they would split people into groups to try to elicit intergroup discrimination. And he found that it was ridiculously easy to get arbitrary groups, even people who knew they were in arbitrary groups, to fucking hate each other because they're over there, you know what I mean? And what these studies show over and over and over is that you can draw and redraw those tribal lines all you want. So tribalism is still useful insofar as it protects your family, it protects your community, it protects your country, it protects whatever. And also, you can make it more useful if you know how to use it appropriately. Extend those feelings of love that you have for your family to all humanity, at least in concept. And suddenly, it's much harder to get suckered into that kind of us versus them thinking. You have a lot more compassion for other people, and you're less likely to be a racist piece of shit. So, like, I feel like tribalism is like a hammer. You know, you can use it to build a house, you can use it to beat somebody to death with it. Like, it's just a tool. It's something that we can use one way or the other. Culture influences that. And to your point, I could say that gender is the same thing. It is a tool that is used differently based on cultural contexts. And there's the context where gender is a highly individualized thing, and we all express ourselves in our own ways, and we have rough groupings based on small commonalities, and there's polyphyletic categorization, just like we do with sex and whatnot, that allows people to have community and to identify themselves and express themselves without judgment. And then there's the negative way, which is super hierarchical and oppressive. You know? Yeah, there's a lot there, yo. There's a lot there. And it's something we could talk about for fucking hours. But I hope we've at least given this the credit or the respect and the attention that it deserves.
100%. And you said you would wanted to do some further research. I would recommend Xenofeminism, The Politics of Alienation. A very interesting read.
You says what is it called? Xenofeminism?
Yes, with an X.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, gender abolitionist, techno-materialist, anti-naturalist form of feminism. This is the AI overview. I shouldn't be reading that. But, yeah, I'll look into what it is. All right.
That is a fair
I'll take a look, because like I'm not a philosophace, and so I try to be careful with labels like this. But like I'll dig into it. I'm more influenced by like black feminist theory and shit, where these identifiers are deeply meaningful and should not be stripped, even if they're not biological realities. Having them be social realities lends a sort of gravitas to them that isn't worth losing.
A useful fiction.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I am going to type that in a little bit more. I'm going to dig into this a little bit further. And just sit down and have a whole ass intersectionality fucking party with this whole thing. It's going to be great. Anyway, thanks so much, Kay. I appreciate you waiting so long. And
not at all. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope I was a bit better than some of the other callers.
Hey, you didn't advocate for great replacement theory, and I've had to deal with 2 people today that did. So good for you.
And no slurs either.
No slurs.
So
yeah.
I try to avoid them when possible.
Okay.
Can we even call it a real call?
I'm right.
Hey, take care, Kay. Good
Awesome.
last call.
Yes.
By the way, there's a couple of people in chat that are real butthurt about the fact that we're a call-in show that takes calls and don't just take every call. Just so you know, y'all, we have a number of lines that are open throughout the show. And when those get super full, sometimes they'll cap the lines. And at this point, we literally filled up on lines within like an hour of being on the show. And we just got through the last call that's been waiting for over 2 hours to get on the show. It's 10 o'clock at night for me here. I've got school in the morning. The show's over. I even offered to make a spot for somebody else. So, like, if you're in the chat bitching about how we're too scared to talk to you, yeah, be here earlier next time. Sorry. Like, we don't have to make time for you, bro. Just call in first thing. Call in get 10 minutes before the show starts. Try to get in. People do that. We get calls filling in 10, 5 minutes, whatever, before the show begins. That's a great chance. So, sorry. That was our last call. They were waiting for over 2 fucking hours. Deal, bruh.
Yep.
I don't know what to tell you. And we even have people like, I don't know, it's just so dumb. Anyway, that was the show. Owen, you're the main host. I talked a lot. So I leave it to you, sir, to wrap things up.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming and giving this a watch. Appreciate it. Don't forget to check out our other shows, which I believe we have listed here every single day, I believe. Check us out. All right. And check out our Patreon. Check out the Patreon. Awesome.
Patreon.com/call the line. Support us.
Don't be as dumb as John.
Talk to you next.